Chapter 884. Chen Hao shook his head and did not say anything as he watched Qin Shaoqing leave. He had no intention of keeping Qin Shaoqing in a golden house. The current situation was only temporary. With a thought, a bright light flashed. Qin Yan, Qin Nan, and the others all arrived under the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit Tree and looked around in shock. Whether it was the boundless heaven and earth spirit Qi and endless vitality, the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit Tree that was shrouded in celestial light and surging Tao laws, or the boundless sea of supreme-grade spirit springs, all of it was beyond their imagination. Sea of supreme-grade spirit springs. Heavens, what kind of tree is this? What a rich vitality. What a majestic Tao law. Boss. This is your mind world. A great world. Isn't it only possible for the experts of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm to have one? Boss, you're my idol. You're too amazing. Ha! We can cultivate here in the future. Everyone was excited to be able to enter such a sacred cultivation ground after surviving a calamity. Their eyes were filled with joy, shock, and admiration as they looked at Chen Hao, who was only an incarnation of his divine consciousness. Alright, all of you can cultivate in my great world for the time being. This is the core of the Sea of Supreme-Grade Spirit Springs and the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit Tree. It should be very beneficial to all of you. Brother, is this a universe? Chen Yan asked. It's still far from it. This is only the embryonic form of a great world. It's not very big. However, as my cultivation base increases, this space will become stronger, bigger, and more stable. However, it's not suitable for long-term use. The path of cultivation can't be honed in a pure land. It's fine if you go into seclusion occasionally. Alright, I'll go out first and think of a way to escape. Oh, boss, can I drink the spirit springs? Huyan Aobua asked excitedly. Up to you. If you can finish packing, you can take it all away. Qi. Chen Hao said with a smile before he disappeared from the great world in his mind. Phew, after his consciousness returned to his body, Chen Hao heaved a long sigh of relief. The nerves that had been stretched taut for the past 3 months finally relaxed at this moment. Although his brothers and sisters had been tortured for a period of time, fortunately, none of them were injured. Now, everything was under his control. As long as he didn't die, no one could hurt any of them. The restriction formed by 6 Grand Mist Supremacy Realm experts is simply too powerful. Chen Hao's powerful soul perception captured the auras around the palace as he thought to himself. Fortunately, all the preparations, Qi. Chen Hao's mind jumped. Old God's real body appeared inside the core palace. Chen Hao went inside. Activate. We only have an instant of opportunity. Don't worry, Master. As long as Master's description of its power is correct, then there is no problem. The margin of error is very small. There shouldn't be a problem. Alright. Master, get ready. When we rush out, the shockwave will be very strong. Even my old bones will be heavily injured. Old God said. Yes. Hiss. Hiss. Without any mysterious fluctuations, the signals spread out from Old God's aircraft. Even the restrictions of the palace could not stop the transmission of these signals. Buzz. At that very moment, Chen Hao's energy surged out. His essence, energy, soul power, primary energy and soul power were all channeled into his fleshly body. At the same time, he put on a set of ancient sacred tier armor to push his defense to its limits. Qi. In the cultivation room of the palace where Bai Zhijing was, something the size of a human head suddenly made a slight trembling sound. However, Bai Zhijing, who was drinking with the 4 brothers of the Wan family, did not notice it at all. In fact, even the supreme being of Hongmeng would not be able to discover the existence of the thing left behind by Chen Hao if he did not deliberately lock onto it. Invisibility and aura shielding were all based on the science of Earth. They did not contain any magical laws, just like the shielding and concealing function of his miniature aircraft. However, there was another world inside the sphere. It was a space refined by old God's abnormal refining ability. It was loaded with the ability to destroy a planet larger than Earth. Considering the protective restrictions of the entire space of the Happy Valley, Qin Hao had absolute confidence that he could destroy the entire Happy Valley. Of course, this alone was not enough. If Qin Hao wanted to leave smoothly, the most important thing was the 6 supreme beings of Hongmeng guarding the Happy Valley. Qi. At the same time, before Qin Hao went to look for Bai Zhijing, he had secretly placed the things near the 6 supreme beings of Hongmeng who were sitting in meditation. Many of the disciples of the Happy Valley were bathed in immortal light and cultivating in broad daylight. In fact, it was precisely because of the existence of these shameless disciples that Qin Hao could easily place these things near the 6 supreme beings of the Grand Mist Realm. Beep. 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 Buzz. As the signal received by the aircraft became more and more urgent, Qin Hao and Old God pushed their minds to the limit. Boom. Rumble, a terrifying explosion suddenly erupted in the Happy Valley without any warning. Bai Zhijing and the 4 brothers of the Wan family, who were still fantasizing that Bai Xiaobin would be able to ask about the concealment technique, were extremely terrified. Their bodies were blown into pieces, and their primordial spirits were annihilated. Without any preparation or any energy fluctuations, the explosion suddenly erupted. Even though their cultivation had reached the level of Daluo Jingxian, they could not escape. The mountains condensed by the 6 supreme beings of Hongmeng also collapsed at the same time. They did not know what had happened at all. They only felt an extremely terrifying explosive force suddenly attack them. The 6 supreme beings of Hongmeng who were sitting in meditation also vomited blood from the explosion. They immediately tore through the void and fled as fast as they could. Within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, all the palaces in the Happy Valley were turned into dust. All the mountains and all the disciples in the valley were annihilated. How is this possible? How is this possible? The 6 supreme beings of Hongmeng felt that their internal organs were dislocated. After gathering together, they looked at the Happy Valley that had been turned into ashes in an instant. Their hearts were filled with extreme fear. There was no longer any life left within a radius of 10,000 miles. It was a scene of devastation. Dust and smoke billowed. Even the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had disappeared. Absolute power. One move completely destroyed the Happy Valley within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Even the 6 of us were injured at the same time, and it didn't use any divine ability. What kind of power is needed to do this? It was silent. Before the explosion, there were no fluctuations at all. Otherwise, with our cultivation, it would be impossible for us to be injured. How many people in the world can do this? This is definitely targeted at us, that's right. This move attacked the location where the 6 of us were in the core palace area at the same time. It might not be targeted at us. The 6 of us happen to be guarding the Valley of Happiness. It's impossible for someone with such power to not know about it. Such an attack would at most cause us light injuries. Furthermore, after the attack, there was no reaction at all. There's something fishy about this. It seems that what we're worried about has happened. Let's go. We must report this to the Patriarch immediately. Brother Bai, what do you mean? Who else do you think would dare to do this? I think Qin Hao's people should have been rescued. If I'm not mistaken, Chen Wuliang should have come out of seclusion. The other 5 sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard the words of the Bai family's sovereign. Then, the 6 of them turned into streaks of light and disappeared on the spot. No one noticed that a miniature aircraft had torn through the void amidst the terrifying explosion and disappeared into the endless chaotic space. Everything had gone much more smoothly than Qin Hao had expected. However, after the incident, Qin Hao broke out in a cold sweat. The strength of the 6 Grand Mist Supremacy Realm elites was much greater than he had expected. Even Qin Hao, who had entered the chaotic space, could feel the terrifying aura that swept past him. If the 6 of them had not been in a state of shock and failed to notice him, they would not have been able to escape even with Old God's aircraft. Chi! Chi! After Chen Hao and the 6 Hongmeng supremacies left, the terrifying energy waves that spread for tens of thousands of miles around the Happy Valley attracted countless cultivators from Xiantian City, including the elites of the Alliance. No one dared to believe the scene before them. The Happy Valley was one of the top sects on the Asianing planet. The number of elites guarding the sect was something that countless sects and factions on the Asianing planet looked up to. However, it was now a wasteland devoid of life and spiritual energy. What did you say? Annihilated. The 6 Hongmeng supremacies were in the Happy Valley. How is that possible? Valley Master, they're dead. They're all dead. Everyone in the Happy Valley, except for the 6 Hongmeng supremacies, is dead. None of the elites from the Bai and Wan family survived. The Happy Valley is now a wasteland. Bam! The Valley Master of the Happy Valley, who was on his way to East Flow City on Vast Universe Planet, logged off from the second world and slumped to the ground. You're saying Qin Wuyang made a move? Patriarch, we're only speculating. It's not a big deal that one move could destroy tens of thousands of miles around the Happy Valley. After all, the level of the Happy Valley's protective restrictions is average, but, to injure all 6 of us, and we didn't even sense the other party's aura. All of you come back first. Head straight to East Flow City. Understood. The Bai and Wan families, as well as the leaders of the factions that Chen Hao and Proud Heaven's members had killed, were shocked when they heard the news. Although many of them had known that this operation against a mere sky immortal like Chen Hao was no longer a simple challenge, they hadn't expected it to be so intense and crazy. This made many of them uneasy. In a game between the upper echelons, if they chose the wrong side, it could lead to their demise. Chapter 885. Vast Universe Star's East Flow City had been bustling for the past 2 months. Countless cultivators from Vast Universe Star and even the Vast Universe Galaxy had flocked there. This was all because of God of Slaughter Chen Hao and Xiao Yan. One looked humble on the surface, but everyone could guess that his identity was not simple. He had obtained the title of God of Slaughter in the primitive mystic realm. He had dominated the primitive mystic realm, defeated the monstrous geniuses of the 10 galaxies, led the Proud Heaven Legion, and obtained terrifying battle records and contribution points. The other was known as the number 1 genius of the Sacred Temple, the direct descendant of the number 1 family in Vast Universe Galaxy, and the number 1 heaven immortal of the human race, Xiao Yan. Both of them had the glory and halo of everyone's attention. Who would not pay attention to their battle of life and death? Who would not be curious? More importantly, any almighty who was slightly smarter could guess that their battle was not as simple as it seemed. God of Slaughter Chen Hao participated in the primitive mystic realm as East Flow City. When he returned, he would naturally be in East Flow City. We can't miss this battle. Of course. Although I haven't seen Xiao Yan and Chen Hao's battle power with my own eyes, I dare say that their battle will definitely represent the peak of the human race's heaven immortal realm. That's right. It's said that Xiao Yan had the ability to kill Daluo Jingxian a few hundred years ago. As for Chen Hao, he dominated the 10 galaxies in the primitive mystic realm. Even the monstrous geniuses of the Tyrants, the Bug Clan, and the God Clan were no match for him. Although Chen Hao has only cultivated for a short time, the independent spacetime laws of the primitive mystic realm allowed him to grow. Just looking at the ancient treasure he obtained is enough to prove it. That's right. His providence is too strong. We can only be envious. Look at the members of the Proud Heaven Legion. Which one of them is not strong? Although they were very strong when they joined the Proud Heaven Legion, everyone can be sure that without God of Slaughter Chen Hao, their improvement and gains in the primitive mystic realm would not be comparable to what they are now. Look at Chen Hao's women, TSK. There's nothing to say. As the saying goes, you can see how strong a man is by looking at the women around him. It's said that the Misty Rain Pavilion's current holy maiden, Hu Mainyang, has a complicated relationship with Chen Hao. The reason why Xiao Yan accepted the invitation is also because of this rain. In East Flow City, in the taverns of all sizes, cultivators were packed to the brim. Nearly all of the discussions revolved around Chen Hao and Xiao Yan. After Chen Hao became famous in the Primal Secret Realm, the 10-year duel between him and Valley of Happiness was no longer a secret. However, no one would have thought that Happy Valley would be able to invite Xiao Yan, someone who had been famous for even longer than Chen Hao and had the strongest background on Vast Universe Star. There are definitely some reasons for this. Not to mention Hu Mainyang's innate Dao embryo, there isn't a single cultivator who wouldn't be moved by it. Even her stunning looks are something that all men yearn for even in their dreams. However, how many people in this world could enter Hu Mainyang's eyes? How many people were worthy of her? Perhaps only people like Xiao Yan and Chen Hao were qualified to be her protectors. But I don't think it's all because of Hu Mainyang. Oh. Then what's the reason? I'm sure everyone has already guessed a little about Chen Hao's background. Half a month ago, Happy Valley of the Ying planet was reduced to ashes overnight. I'm sure you've all heard about it. So, if nothing unexpected happens, Chen Hao's background is real, and everyone knows the status of the Xiao family in Vast Universe Star System. This is one of the reasons, so let's not discuss it further. Secondly, the treasures Chen Hao obtained in the Primal Secret Realm are simply too great and too tempting. If you can kill him and obtain his treasures, you'll be thousands or even tens of thousands of times richer than the average expert in the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. Thirdly, the current god of slaughter Chen Hao can be said to be a monstrous genius who has shaken the 10 major galaxies. How much providence does he have? Even if Xiao Yan is stronger than Chen Hao, his providence is far inferior. If I'm able to kill Chen Hao, and it's under the gazes of so many people, what would the outcome be? That makes sense. The news of Xiao Yan's participation in the battle was spread by the disciples of the Divine Temple. They obviously want everyone to know. Yes, that must be it. The news of Xiao Yan representing the Happy Valley in the battle against Chen Hao had indeed been spread by Xiao Yan in the Divine Temple. Hu Mainyang's humiliating words had thoroughly infuriated him. Since that was the case, he had to make as much of an impact as possible. That way, he would be able to reap the most benefits. Indeed, Hu Mainyang was not the only reason he wanted to fight. Hu Mainyang, who had a connate Taoist embryo, was indeed very important to him. But just as Hu Mainyang had said, he, who had cultivated for more than 1,000 years, had gone too far by challenging Chen Hao to a battle to the death as soon as he returned. But now, he no longer cared. This was especially true after he had gone through all of Chen Hao's records in the Primal Secret Realm through the Alliance. Because, if Chen Hao was given more time, even he was not confident that he could win. Boss, have you managed to contact Miss Hu? In East Flow City, in a private room of a luxurious restaurant that didn't belong to the Fan family, there were several men and women with imposing appearances. With a single glance, one could tell that they were dragons and phoenixes amongst men and women. One of them, whether it was in appearance or aura, was extremely dazzling even amongst these people. Moreover, anyone could see that he was the core of this group. At this moment, one of them looked at this youth and asked, "Do I, Xiao Yan, need to ask for a woman's opinion when doing things?" Boss, I didn't mean that. It's just that the rumors. Miss Hu's relationship with Chen Hao is a little strange. Hu Mainyang is destined to be my woman. Not to mention anything else, just my status as the #1 family of the Xiao family makes me, Xiao Yan, a good-for-nothing, enough to be her guardian. If I don't do it, who would dare? Boss, you're right, a few young men and women in the Heaven Immortal realm matched the Tao. But their expressions were a little surprised. They could sense that the Xiao Yan today was very different from his usual humble self. He had become domineering and even arrogant. But none of the people present thought that Xiao Yan was arrogant. The masters of the Wan family, by family, and other forces, as well as many elders of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, have all rushed over. Boss, you're representing the Happy Valley, so none of them dare not give you face. But, no matter how I see it, it's like using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. Even though that Qinhao's natural talent is monstrous and his karmic luck is even more formidable, but his current strength is truly insufficient when compared to Boss. Him now. You mean, he can surpass me in the future? Cough cough. No. Boss is the #1 genius of our vast universe galaxy, how can he surpass you? What I mean is, after a few more years, he'll have the qualifications to fight with you. Right now, he's at most on par with us. Ha ha ha. Enough. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Those who can sit here are my closest brothers and sisters. You know why I'm fighting. Actually, I also know that Qinhao's talent is no less than mine. Perhaps he'll have the strength to fight and compete with me in the future, but a dead man has no future. Xiao Yan suddenly said with a laugh. Boss is right. A dead man has no future. I'm really looking forward to seeing how much stronger your already strong providence will become after you kill Qinhao, boss. Hee hee. When the time comes, we'll be able to bask in your glory. Of course, of course. Qinhao's harvest in the primal mystic realm is also terrifying. Not to mention the Tao manifestation immortal fruit core, the other spiritual items of heaven and earth, the legacy techniques, ancient treasures, and so on. It's just too much, don't worry, those things are just worldly possessions to me. Other than the Tao manifestation immortal fruit core, you can take whatever you want. The Tao manifestation immortal fruit core. It should have grown into a Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree by now, right? This kid has a lot of secrets. I'm looking forward to it. Boss, there's something I don't know if I should say. Naturally, we'll support you, but on the family's side. We're not in control after all, and the family leader has to consider the interests of the sect. Why? Does your family doubt the Shao family's foundation? Boss, if Qinhao's background is really the ruler of the vast universe galaxy, Qin Wuyang, then there are 3 true immortals, true immortals, 3 true immortals. Are they very strong? They've just cut their Tao. The Shao family used to be able to keep him in check, and we still can. All you have to do is tell your forces that a few reclusive grand elders of the Shao clan have successfully severed their Tao in the universe's primordial times. If that's not enough, then just say that the Shao clan's patriarch is still alive. Huh? Everyone's eyes widened in shock when they heard Xiao Yan's words. The Shao family was the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy. Everyone knew that they had a deep foundation, but no one could estimate how deep they were. After all, the ruler of the vast universe galaxy had changed many generations, but the Shao family's status as the #1 family had never been shaken. It was already shocking enough that a few reclusive grand elders had successfully cut their Tao, but Xiao Yan's words made everyone's scalp go numb. What kind of existence was that? Even if no one knew how strong the Shao family's patriarch was, they could tell by thinking about the time the Shao family had existed. He was definitely a true immortal. Amazing. Too amazing. Boss, the patriarch. He should be much stronger than a true immortal, right? What do you think? Xiao Yan asked with a smile, his face brimming with pride. However, the people present did not know that Xiao Yan's claim that the patriarch was still alive was true. The Shao family's patriarch was the true foundation of the Shao family that had stood tall for hundreds of millions of years. This was also the real reason why no ruler of the vast universe galaxy dared to touch the Shao family. However, it was very difficult to ask him to come out of retirement. Unless the Shao family was at a moment of life and death, it was basically impossible. Chapter 886. The Wan family, the Bai family, and other forces that were incompatible with Qinhao, the #1 aristocratic family, the Shao family, and their loyal vassal forces, as well as the neutral forces that Xiao Yan and the others had roped in with their own connections, all gathered in East Stream City. As expected by Du Jing, Lan Feng, and the others, the forces that belonged to the Proud Heavens members didn't express their support for the god of slaughter Qin Hao without hesitation. Just like Hu Meinyang. Although she was the Holy Virgin of the Misty Rain Tower, the Misty Rain Tower had its own concerns. Hu Meinyang's words didn't have the power to influence the decision of the Misty Rain Tower's master. However, most of them chose to play safe for the time being. In the endless chaotic space, the aircraft that the old god had transformed into was floating quietly in the terrifying space storm. Qin Hao sat cross-legged. The Tao Manifestation celestial fruit tree stretched out for thousands of miles. The Taoist principles were tumbling and celestial light lingered around it. Phew, 3 more days. It's almost time. Qi. 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 Qin Hao's mind shook. The branches and leaves of the Tao Manifestation celestial fruit tree that stretched out in the chaotic space all returned to the big world in his mind. At the same time, Qin Hao's mind transformed and entered the core of the big world in his mind. Looking at the faces of those who were immersed in cultivation, Qin Hao's mouth curled into a smile. His younger sister in cultivation was 90% similar to Qin Shui. The only difference was that their temperaments were totally different. This was caused by their different personalities, different experiences, and different cultivation stages. If Qin Yan and Qin Shui could stay close to each other like the beautiful sisters Leng Ninghuan and Leng Ninggle, their resemblance wouldn't be inferior to that of the beautiful sisters. His younger brother, Qin Nan, had grown up. Although he was still a kid in Qin Hao's eyes, he looked older than him. This was also the reason why Qin Hao's cultivation stage had improved quickly, but his appearance had changed slowly. But face still looked simple and honest. It seemed that he had already gotten along with the clever and lively Ling heir. This was undoubtedly a very happy thing for Qin Hao. Xiao Mei, the first personal female instructor to make Qin Hao excited after he regained his memories, was already very familiar with her. Qin Hao originally thought that she had already gotten together with Xiao Feng. Although he had let it go in his heart, he subconsciously felt a little regretful as a man. And now, Qin Hao already knew that Xiao Mei had been pressured by her father to become Xiao Feng's Tao companion in name. At that time, Qin Hao had already jumped out of the secular world, and the two of them were already people of 2 different worlds. Moreover, Qin Hao was much younger than Xiao Mei, and she definitely couldn't use Qin Hao as an excuse in her family. Now, Xiao Mei relied on her own efforts, step by step. Although it was very, very slow, she constantly maintained the eternity in her heart, and once again walked in front of Qin Hao. Although it was an accident, although the gap between their realms was still very, very large, and although she still didn't dare to show it. But Qin Hao could see and sense it. Qi. A white light flashed, and Xiao Mei, who was in a state of cultivation, suddenly disappeared from Qin Hao's mind and appeared in the aircraft. Sister Mei, Junior brother. Xiao Mei murmured in her state of cultivation and immediately woke up. When she saw Qin Hao standing in front of her, she immediately cried out in surprise. Sister Mei, what do you think this is? Hiss. A lifelike wooden carving suddenly appeared in Qin Hao's hand. Ah, this is when you left the Xiao family and rushed to the Royal Academy. We sent you off, that's right. Sister Mei, look at your affectionate appearance. What do you mean? When Xiao Mei saw her own appearance, her pretty face was already red. Qin Hao's carving was too lifelike. Anyone who saw Xiao Mei's appearance and gaze could see the depth of her feelings. Sister Mei, your talent is very poor, I know. Junior brother, thank you for helping me so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be able to step out of the secular world. Xiao Mei was at a loss for what to do with Qin Hao's unconstrained words. She immediately lowered her head and said in a low voice. Her heart was filled with apprehension and bitterness. Countless fantasies, perseverance, and eternity in her heart, but when she really heard Qin Hao say such words, she still felt extremely uncomfortable. She didn't blame Qin Hao. Perhaps, from the beginning to the end, she had been thinking too much. His talent and realm exceeded hers by 100 or 1,000 times. She would look up to such a person for her entire life. How could they be together? What Xiao Mei didn't expect was that Qin Hao suddenly held her waist and asked softly, "Do you want to become stronger?" "I." Xiao Mei's body stiffened, and her heartbeat instantly increased by several times. She raised her head and looked at Qin Hao, then avoided his gaze, but said, "Yes. Of course, I think about it all the time. Sister Mei, there's a very simple way for you to become stronger quickly, but you'll have to pay a huge price." "What way?" "Be my woman and dual cultivate with me. The price is very high." "Sister Mei, are you willing?" "Junior brother, you don't dislike me?" The gap between us is too big, woo." Qin Hao directly covered Xiao Mei's mouth, using his actions to explain. He was very clear that Xiao Mei felt inferior in front of him. If he didn't take the initiative to point it out, who knew how long he would have to wait? Qin Hao had no reason to let the mature Xiao Mei continue to wait. Her talent had already reached its limit. If this continued, the distance between them would grow further and further, and she would feel even more inferior. Happiness came too suddenly, so suddenly that Xiao Mei couldn't control her tears. If Qin Hao wanted, she would give her everything without holding back. However, Qin Hao didn't take a step further. Enough was enough. "Brother, boss." After resolving Xiao Mei's psychological barrier, Qin Hao's mind merged with the world in his mind. At the same time, he sent out dozens of divine senses, directly awakening Qin Yan, Qin Nan, and the others from their cultivation state. "Brother, did we escape?" Qin Nan asked. For more than 2 months, in such a blessed cultivation environment, coupled with the help of Qin Hao's great Tao Sanskrit mantra, everyone had entered the state of thoughtless tranquility. Now that they saw Qin Hao again, worry immediately welled up in their hearts. "Don't worry, we've escaped," Qin Hao said with a slight smile. "Boss, that was a restriction formed by the supreme being of Hong Meng. We actually escaped," Huyan Aobua said excitedly. Everyone looked at Qin Hao with eyes full of shock and joy. "Not only did we escape, the people who captured you were also turned into ashes, along with the Happy Valley." "Well, I'll send you out first. When my matter is settled, you can come in to cultivate." "Brother, although I don't know how you have a great world in your mind now, I know that we can more or less help you in your great world. Can we not go out?" Qin Nan suddenly said. "Yes, boss, I don't want to go out. We already know that the person who will duel with you this time is the #1 expert of the Heaven Immortal realm in the vast universe star system. Although our strength is weak, it is more or less useful," Huyan Aobua said. "Yes. Boss, are you afraid that we will consume the resources of your great world?" Jing Tiangang said. "Boss, let us stay here," the first king said in a deep voice. "I'm not going out." Everyone had already learned the reason from Bai Zhijing and the 4 brothers of the Wan family since they were captured and rescued by Qin Hao. At the same time, they were also aware of Qin Hao's current situation. At this moment, they could vaguely guess why Qin Hao asked them to leave his great world in his mind. After all, just as Huyan Aobua said, Qin Hao's opponent was the #1 expert of the Heaven Immortal realm in the vast universe star system, a true invincible Heaven Immortal. Moreover, the opponent was a disciple of the #1 family in the vast universe star system, the Shao family. No matter how strong Qin Hao was, he was not confident in facing such a powerful existence. If they were in Qin Hao's mind, if something happened to Qin Hao, they would all be buried with him. "Stop fooling around. With your current cultivation, you won't be of much help to me. Instead, you'll tie me down and affect my performance. I'm alone. Even if my mind space collapses, I won't necessarily die. Trust me." Chi chi chi. Qin Hao's divine consciousness surged, turning into beams of light that immediately wrapped around everyone. Immediately, Qin Yan, Qin Nan, and the others disappeared from Qin Hao's great world in his mind at the same time. When they reappeared, they were already in the space of the aircraft that old god had transformed into. Everyone entered an independent space. You guys can stay here and cultivate for a while. Wait for my return. Chen Hao transmitted to everyone at the same time. Old God, your mission is to protect them. Also, help them cultivate. Is that okay? No problem. It's just that. Master, you really don't need me. With me here, I can at least increase your battle strength by 30%. Moreover, although I've already opened the last layer and can exist independently for a while, I'm still your life treasure. I can't stay for long, and we can't be separated too far. Just wait for me outside East Flow City. Don't be discovered by experts. In 3 days, the East Flow City fleet will arrive. I'll follow the fleet to East Flow City. I don't have much confidence in this battle. It's not about Xiao Yan, but the power behind him. If something happens to me, you'll have to choose another master. I know you can exist independently. It's just that you haven't reached the realm you need. Don't hide this from me. Master. Alright, I admit it, but I've truly recognized you as my master. I don't have any intention of harming you, I know. Moreover, you're not an artifact spirit. Treat me as a brother, and do as I say. Can't we not fight? We've already rescued them. At worst, we'll just hide for a while. The arrow is knocked on the bowstring. Although it's said that taking a step back is better than taking a step back, there are some things that can never be backed down. Old God, you go. I have a feeling that in a life-or-death situation, the restriction I set to transform into a mortal will disappear. Once it reunites, there's a 90% chance of stepping into Daluo Jingxian. The situation isn't that pessimistic. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't want them and you to take risks with me. This time, I feel that I'm about to face a great calamity. Chapter 887. Even Chen Hao did not expect that the conflict with many geniuses in the primitive mystic realm would escalate to the current situation. Especially with the addition of the Xiao family, the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy, Chen Hao had no confidence in his situation. He had known that his father was not simple and that it was an era where everything depended on one's father. However, his father had not appeared until now. Moreover, after inquiring from many sources, Chen Hao clearly understood the strength of the Xiao family. Even if his father appeared, he would not be able to turn the tide. The only person he could rely on was himself. Chen Hao was not afraid. No matter how strong Xiao Yan was, he was only a heaven immortal. So what if he was called the #1 expert in the heaven immortal realm? However, Chen Hao was afraid that the other party would secretly do something. Now, he was not alone. 3 days later, when the East Flow City fleet entered the vast universe star, Chen Hao returned to the original aircraft with Fan Shaoqing. No one knew about their departure and return except for the captain and steward of the Fan family. Beep beep beep. As soon as Chen Hao entered the VIP room, he logged into the second world with his real identity. Instantly, a series of message notifications appeared in his mind. Long Ting, Long Yi, Du Jing, Pan Long, Lan Feng, Pan Donglu, Pan Dongsheng, Hu Mainyang, senior brother Gu Chen, and the others. After reading everyone's messages, Chen Hao felt a warmth in his heart. He immediately contacted senior brother Gu Chen. Junior brother, you're finally here. About the Happy Valley, I know. They're all right. Senior brother, don't worry. In the video, Gu Chen's eyes shone with excitement as he stared at Chen Hao and asked, that's good, that's good. Junior brother, are you really the master of the vast universe galaxy, Senior Chen Hao? Now, speculation about Chen Hao's identity had already spread among the upper echelons of the vast universe galaxy. It was not difficult for Gu Chen, who was already the Daluo Jingxian, to know this news. It was rumored that the Happy Valley turned into ashes overnight. Dozens of experts from the Bai and Wan families died, and countless disciples from the Happy Valley died. It was done by the person behind Chen Hao. I think so. Senior brother, what's the situation on planet Wuji now? Guan Nanchao, Lu Qingyang, me, and your second senior brother have already rushed to East Flow City at the request of the Valley Master of the Valley of Happiness and the Alliance's Law Enforcement Hall. They want to settle their grudges with you here. Junior brother, if possible, have your father think of a way to stop this battle. Xiao Yan, I saw it. Although he's a celestial immortal, he's definitely not someone an ordinary Daluo Jinxian can contend against. His aura and pressure made me feel like I couldn't resist. Gu Qin said tentatively. Even he himself felt that it was unlikely. After all, if the Xiao family wanted to intervene, it would be to use Qin Hao's battle with the Valley of Happiness to stir up trouble. Now, the whole world knew about it. If Qin Wuyang wanted to suppress this, then he would have to make a concession. This was a game between high-level figures. Everyone knew what it meant to make a concession. The Xiao family was the ruler of half of vast universe galaxy. If Qin Wuyang were to make a concession, then that would only be because of his status as a ruler. At that time, the number one family, the Xiao family, would truly be able to cover the sky with one hand. Qin Hao shook his head and said, Senior brother, tell second senior brother, Guan Nanchao, Lu Qingyang, and the others not to say anything else. You just have to fulfill the 10-year agreement. Don't worry about anything else. I'll think of something. After hanging up Gu Chen's call, Qin Hao called Hu Mainyang again. Ever since he transformed into a mortal in the primal mystic realm, he hadn't seen her again. Hu Mainyang's appearance hadn't changed at all. Although she didn't need to disguise herself in front of Qin Hao, her innate charm and the temperament shaped by the secular Heart Sutra still made Qin Hao feel stunned when he saw her again. After the call connected, the two of them stared at each other for a full half a minute. Seeing that Qin Hao still hadn't said anything, Hu Mainyang finally couldn't help but take the initiative to ask, were you behind the incident at Happy Valley? I'm in the fleet. Where would I have the time? The speed of your aircraft is time. Others may not know, but I know. Then I want that ability too, right? One of the 6 great Hungmeng Supremes. Forget it. You have mastered a power that doesn't belong to any divine ability or law. Or rather, it doesn't belong to this universe. Don't think I don't know. It doesn't matter if you admit it or not. I want to tell you not to underestimate Xiao Yan. The Xiao family is the number one family in the vast universe galaxy. Since ancient times, no one has been able to shake them, not even the 4th strongest ruler of the vast universe galaxy. This is because of the Xiao family's supreme technique and the existence of the Xiao family's ancestor. After hundreds of millions of years, the Xiao family's ancestor still hasn't died. Now, several of the Xiao family's grand elders have successfully severed their Dao, so. Hu Mainyang paused and avoided Qin Hao's gaze. Then, she continued, I'm sorry. Sorry? That's enough. It has nothing to do with you. I can only support you on behalf of myself. The ruler hasn't woken up yet, but I believe he'll wake up when we reach the vast universe galaxy. You don't have to worry about anything. The only thing you can do is survive the battle with Xiao Yan. I won't advise you to run away. Although you have the ability, you won't run away. Xiao Yan is very strong. You have to deal with him with all your strength. You still have a chance of winning. Also, he has 9 lives. 9 lives? What do you mean? Don't worry about how strong his background is. If your father is Qin Wuyang, he won't be much weaker. Just kill him. Even if his body and soul are destroyed 8 times, he still won't die. If you win the battle, they won't have an excuse to deal with you openly for the time being. They can only do it in secret. When the time comes, your father should have made arrangements. The key will depend on your battle. Hu Mainyang said. Unlike Qin Hao, Hu Mainyang's understanding of the situation in the vast universe galaxy was unparalleled among the younger generation. After all, the nature of the Misty Rain Pavilion determined that she had to know more than others. Even if his body and soul are destroyed, he still won't die. Qin Hao nodded and asked with a little surprise. I learned about it from the secret records of the Misty Rain Pavilion. It's said that the Shao family's ancestor has existed since the birth of our universe. Up until now, many almighty experts and even true immortals have fallen and disappeared, but the Shao family's ancestor has always existed. Every time the world thinks that the Shao family's ancestor is dead and wants to make a move against the powerful Shao family with a rich foundation, the Shao family's ancestor will appear. He has 9 lives and 9 incarnations. They are true incarnations. The death of any one of them won't affect his foundation. Every 10 million years, such a person would appear in the Shao clan. Although there is no clear information about Shao Yan, he should be. In the past, he became the youngest celestial immortal in the vast universe galaxy. He had experienced countless life and death situations, and almost all of them were life or death situations. But just when everyone thought he had fallen, he would reappear. There is no other explanation other than the theory of 9 lives. Chapter 888. Soon after, Qin Hao contacted Du Jing, Lan Feng, Pan Long, Pan Dong Current, Pan Dongsheng, Li Yang, and Chen Ling, who had obtained the spirit helmet. After knowing what they had done during this period of time and the support they had received, Qin Hao heaved a sigh of relief. Although the forces behind Du Jing, Lan Feng, and the members of Ao Tian could not compete with the Shao family, they were still a powerful force. In addition, the experts of the Manhuang tribe, who had been hiding behind Pan Long for tens of millions of years, had all come out. Even if they could not compete with the Shao family, they could still play a role in restraining them. Personal strength, background, foundation. After cutting off the connection, Qin Hao took a deep breath and clenched his fists. The current situation made Qin Hao thirst for power even more. Originally, when Qin Hao and the others had killed many heavenly immortal geniuses in the primitive secret realm, no one had taken it seriously. Not to mention the forces behind Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, and the others, even the forces developed by Ao Tian's members couldn't be compared to the Bai family or the Wan family. However, the appearance of the Shao family, who controlled half of the vast universe galaxy, broke the balance. The forces that Qin Hao and the others could use were much smaller. Many sects chose to wait and see. There was no other reason. The Shao family was too powerful and terrifying. Daoyuo Jingxian, Supreme Hongmeng, Dao Severing True Immortal. Ao Tian. When I reach the peak of martial arts, I will let Ao Tian rule the world. Thinking of Ao Tian's glory in the primitive secret realm, Qin Hao's blood surged. Although he and Proud Heaven were nothing in the vast universe galaxy right now and weren't even inferior to a small sect, at this moment, Qin Hao truly had the idea of establishing Proud Heaven as a peak influence within the vast universe galaxy. He wasn't a single person. No matter how strong a single person was, they were ultimately limited. If he didn't want those around him to be bullied, then the only way was to become the strongest. Phew, after a long sigh, Qin Hao called Long Ting. Brother Hao. Sister Ting, what's the situation with Xiao Shui and the others? Qin Hao asked directly. Long Ting and Qin Shui were in the same aircraft. Although Qin Shui and the other women couldn't contact Qin Hao in the second world, they could communicate with Long Ting through Qin Shui's real body. When they entered the second world, they were still sealed off from the outside world. They've already contacted the person in charge of them, but they still haven't responded. But Brother Hao, Little Snow said that there shouldn't be any problems. Once we reach the vast universe galaxy, we might be able to regain our freedom. After all, on the surface, they and Heavenly Lord Yuanru are controlled by the Asianing Star Alliance as a bargaining chip for your promise of 10 years. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Forget it, that's all we can do for now. Try to contact the person who was in charge of them. If we can't contact them, someone else will take over. Don't resist and wait for my news. Chi. Rumble, Vast Universe Planet, Vast Universe City Alliance Headquarters. In a cultivation palace of a heavenly immortal realm expert, the door suddenly opened with a rumble. An old man sitting cross-legged in the palace suddenly opened his eyes. He stared at the dazzling light and murmured, "It's been 10 years." It opened at this time. It seems that junior brother is safe and sound. He came to keep the promise after all. Sigh, the old man sighed in his heart. Yuenru, let's go. Chi. A shackle condensed from magic power directly locked onto the old man, who was Heavenly Lord Yuenru. Who are you? Heavenly Lord Yuenru's expression changed slightly. Although he had been under house arrest for the past 10 years, the cultivation environment provided to him was incomparable to that of the Wuji star. Moreover, after he put aside all the complicated matters of the Wuji star and devoted himself to cultivation without distraction, the barrier that had imprisoned him for thousands of years finally loosened. Heavenly Lord Yuenru was sure that it wouldn't be long before he could trigger divine punishment and step into the realm of Daluo Jingxian. Heavenly Lord Yuenru had long guessed that such treatment had something to do with Chen Hao, however, he didn't expect that when the 10 years came, he would be restrained. Moreover, it was a power he couldn't resist. It doesn't matter who we are. What's important is that no one can violate the rules of the Alliance, not even the controller. All the resources you have consumed in these 10 years will be recovered. Take them away. Heavenly Lord Yuenru had no room to resist at all. He couldn't resist at all and was torn apart by the person who came. At the same time, in East Flow City, where Qin Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yuyu, the siblings, and the others were waiting for them to return from the primitive mystic realm, there were also experts from the Grand Mist Supremacy realm present, waiting for their return. Chi. Buzz. Are they back? When the first aircraft from the fleet that returned from the primitive mystic realm tore through the space barrier and entered the space of vast universe star, Chen Wuliang, who was sitting cross-legged in a palace deep in the sacred palace, slowly opened his eyes. His bright eyes seemed to pierce through time and space as he looked at the endless void. Old brother Xiao, it's time for you to come out of seclusion. Otherwise, if you can't pass on your legacy, don't blame my son. Chen Wuliang looked in the direction of the Xiao family and said indifferently. Ha! Old brother Wuliang, your godson is 70% similar to you back then, but he's even more arrogant. Xiao Yan has already comprehended the true essence of the 9 lives inheritance. If he can destroy it, then he's capable. That Yi fellow couldn't do anything to me back then and transformed into the second world. Your godson is Ye's grandson, right? He can't do anything to Xiao Yan either. If he dies, don't blame me. Shortly after, an old and faintly discernible voice traveled through time and space and floated to Chen Wuliang's ears. The two of them seemed to be talking face to face. Does that mean I'm responsible for my own life and death? Chen Wuliang's eyes flashed. You can think of it that way. Then what about suppressing others with your power and trying to seize my position as controller? That's up to you. That Yi fellow and I will fight sooner or later. As long as you don't destroy the foundation of the Xiao family, it's fine. We won't help either side. Your godson is ruthless enough to use an extraterrestrial civilization to destroy Happy Valley. You should remind him that he can't do anything he wants. In this universe, one must abide by the laws of the universe. The laws of the universe are the foundation. An extraterrestrial civilization is nothing but an unorthodox path. It won't be able to achieve anything great. Old brother Xiao, your words aren't kind. If your Xiao family hadn't pushed him too far, would my son have done that? This has nothing to do with my Xiao family. It was the Wan family and the Bai family who took the lead. Xiao Yan only accepted the invitation. Aren't you embarrassed to say that? Ha, isn't that the truth? The Xiao family's influence is great, but it wasn't the Xiao family who initiated it. Fine. I finally understand why Brother Yi and you can't coexist. I don't mind telling you, Brother Yi might reach nirvana in another 1,000 years or so. At that time, you'll suffer. Ha, an unorthodox path. So what if the power of faith gathered from all the cultivators in the vast universe galaxy? Alright, I've said what I needed to say. You can do as you see fit and don't disturb me. Damn it, 1,000 years. As the Xiao family patriarch's voice faded, Chen Wuliang shook his head. Even though he was a Dao-severing cultivator, there was nothing he could do to the Shao family patriarch. Although he was the master of the vast universe galaxy, the ones who truly guarded it were the Shao family patriarch and the fourth master of the vast universe galaxy, the master of the second world. At his current level, Chen Wuliang could talk to the two of them as equals, but it was impossible for him to suppress them. And this was when both of them were in the dormant period. Qi. His terrifying divine sense instantly spread throughout the entire vast universe galaxy. All living beings, all things in the world, were under Chen Wuliang's cold gaze. At this moment, the elders of the top sects in the vast universe galaxy looked up at the sky. They're awake. The Shao family had sacrificed over 100 Grand Mist Supremacy Realm Grand Elders who had long since gone into seclusion. Only 12 of them had successfully severed their Dao-severing cultivators and advanced to the true immortal realm. They opened their eyes at the same time. Wang! Congratulations to everyone for smoothly returning to East Flow City. All the major chambers of commerce of East Flow City welcome everyone to participate in the 3-month auction exchange. In addition, on behalf of East Flow City's fan family, I sincerely invite everyone to be guests of the fan family. The hotels of East Flow City are already packed with people. All the top forces and masters of the vast universe galaxy have gathered in East Flow City. As for the reason, I believe many of you already know. This is a rare event in the vast universe galaxy. I believe everyone will not be disappointed. Are you bragging? Our East Flow City is just an ordinary city on the vast universe star. For the ancient magic treasures on our bodies, just say so. Why do you have to boast so much? Brother, it looks like you've been in seclusion all this time. Don't you know about the 10-year battle between the killing god Qin Hao and the Ying planet's Happy Valley? The battle has already been set at East Flow City, and the heavenly immortal realm master that the Happy Valley has invited is our vast universe galaxy's #1 family, the Shao family's Shao Yan. I'm not bragging. Right now, East Flow City is 100 times more lively than vast universe city. Ah! As the captain's voice sounded out from the East Flow City fleet spacecraft, all the cultivators in the spacecraft began to seethe with excitement. They had returned from the primal mystic realm with a bountiful harvest and were excited to be able to hold their heads high within their sections. They were also looking forward to the battle between the killing god Qin Hao and the invincible heavenly immortal Shao Yan. This was especially true of Qin Hao's spacecraft. When Qin Hao slowly walked out, all the cultivators in the spacecraft began to seethe with excitement. Heavenly immortal realm, he was only a heavenly immortal, but he had caused the entire vast universe star system to tremble. Perhaps only the killing god Qin Hao could accomplish this. Many of the cultivators who didn't understand the situation thought that Qin Hao's freakish talent and combat strength were the reason. Secondly, Qin Hao had an enormous amount of treasures on him that were priceless. Thirdly, the battle between Qin Hao and the #1 family Shao Yan, a monstrous genius, and the influence of Shao Yan on the family Shao Yan. There were many other reasons that had led to this grand occasion. Qin Hao had just walked to the exit of the spacecraft when an Alliance enforcer with a terrifying aura locked onto Qin Hao. The Alliance bears witness that the time of your battle with the Happy Valley has passed. Now, you must fulfill the agreement. The location will be set at the Alliance Central Plaza in East Flow City. You have 3 days to prepare. Any objections? Chapter 889. The man who spoke was the leader of the Ying planet's law enforcement team, who had agreed to the duel between Qin Hao and the Valley of Happiness. Now that he had the support of the Wan family, the Bai family, and other top forces, as well as the intervention of the Shao family, the #1 family on the vast universe planet, he was confident again. No, Qin Hao said calmly. Shouldn't you release my people now? Don't worry, they will be released when the duel starts. Besides, you know their current situation. However, they should be on their way to East Flow City. To avoid unnecessary trouble, you'd better come with us. Come with you? I'm not a captive, this is a duel. Qin Hao, you violated the law of order of the Ying planet first. This is a duel in name, but it's a punishment. How dare you disobey? Are your eyes blind? If I want to fight, I'll fight. If I want to avoid it, do you think you can stop me? Get lost. Chi. Junior brother, Chen Hao. Gu Chen, Guan Nanchao, and the others were also in the welcoming party. When they saw Chen Hao rushing toward the law enforcement team, they immediately shouted in panic. The leader of the Ying planet's law enforcement team was Daluo Jingxian, who was at the peak of the late stage. Chen Hao's provocation was really unwise. Besides, in their opinion, Chen Hao was just a heaven immortal. Although his combat strength was terrifying, it was impossible for him to surpass Daluo Jingxian's peak of the late stage. You're courting death. Boom. When the leader of the law enforcement team saw Chen Hao rushing toward him arrogantly, blood rushed to his head. After all, he was Daluo Jingxian's peak of the late stage and a law enforcement officer. How could he allow a puny heaven immortal to offend him in public? Although he knew that Chen Hao was not an ordinary heaven immortal, he was too lazy to think too much at this time. He had come with the sword from above and was in a difficult position. Since he had chosen a side, he could only help the tiger to the end. Idiot. Huh. What the leader of the law enforcement officers and everyone else did not expect was that the seemingly violent Chen Hao suddenly disappeared and turned into nothingness when he was about to clash head-on with his opponent. At the place where Chen Hao had been standing, Chen Hao's disdainful voice rang out. With a slight sway of his body, he headed straight for a warship in the distance. Boss. Brother Hao, Hao. The East-flowing sect and Long Ting stood in front of Chen Shui to protect her. They were confronting a Hongmeng supreme law enforcer. This law enforcer obviously did not belong to the Asianing planet. Of course, he did not belong to the East-flowing City Alliance. Chi. Chi. And at this time, the masters of the East Flow City Alliance appeared like bolts of lightning. Their figures emitting terrifying auras and majestic auras landed around Chen Hao and the others. Who dares to cause trouble in the East-flowing City Alliance? To everyone's surprise, the leader of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm of the East-flowing City Alliance did not look coldly at Chen Hao, Chen Shui, and Long Ting, but at the law enforcement officers who were enforcing the law across regions. Fourth Grandpa. The East-flowing sect's tense brows relaxed as he called out in a low voice. The old man was the elder of the East-flowing City Alliance, the fourth son of the head of the Fan family, Fan Lang. Fan Lang nodded slightly to the East-flowing sect, Chen Hao, and the others. East-flowing sect, take little brother Chen Hao and the others back to the Fan family. The head of the family has prepared a feast. Fan Lang, what do you mean? Don't you know that we are enforcing the law? The Hongmeng supreme law enforcer who stopped Chen Shui was not afraid at all. He looked dissatisfied and arrogant as he stared at the old man. This is East-flowing City. How can it be your turn to enforce the law? And they are the honored guests of the East-flowing City Alliance and the Fan family. Are you qualified? I am not qualified, but I am under orders from the headquarters of the Grand Mist Star Alliance. Headquarters? Whose orders? Are they higher than the orders of the Grand Mist Star System's master? If not, then scram with me. Fan Lang took out a token and said coldly. Let's go. Go. Once the token is out, it's like the master is here in person. Why aren't you kneeling? The person who came was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Especially when he saw the countless young cultivators gathered around and pointing at him, his old face turned red. In any case, he did not expect that Fan Lang would come with the Master Chen Wuyang's token. But now, he had no room to maneuver. He could only endure the humiliation and kneel on the ground. After quickly bowing, he left without saying a word. When Chen Hao saw Fan Lang take out the token, he finally understood why the Fan family was so fierce this time. Previously, when he had just stepped out of the primitive mystic realm, the head of the Fan family had summoned him. But at that time, although the head of the Fan family had expressed his support, he was limited by the strength of the Fan family and could not help much. But now, with the appearance of Chen Wuliang, the Fan family had no scruples. At the same time, Chen Hao also let out a sigh of relief. Not much time had passed. In the city where Helian Wuzi, Tan Tai Lian, Xia Yuyu, the sisters, and the others had appeared, the same thing happened. The only difference from East Flow City was that in the other cities, the ones who used the ruler tokens to take away the women were elders from the Alliance headquarters law enforcement team. Even the captured Emperor Yuanru was forcefully rescued by the elders of the Alliance headquarters law enforcement team. Chen Wuliang's counterattack could be said to be without any scruples. After stepping into samsara, he returned to cutting his Tao. After cutting his Tao, he went into seclusion. After waking up, even the Shao family didn't think that Chen Wuliang would dare to openly challenge the Shao family because of Chen Hao. But when Chen Wuliang decisively took action and took away Emperor Yuanru, Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tan Tai Lian, Xia Yuyu, the sisters, and the others, by the time the Shao family, Wan family, and Bai family received the news, it was already too late. The news that accompanied it was even more earth-shattering. The high-level figures of Vast Universe Galaxy's Temple Alliance have set a deadline of 3 days to gather at East Flow City for a meeting of the highest level of Vast Universe Star. Those who do not show up will be removed from the high-level figures of the Temple Alliance. All of Vast Universe Galaxy's peak influences, high-level figures, and hidden old undying masters were shaken, winds rose and clouds surged. A storm was brewing, sweeping through the entire Vast Universe Galaxy. High-level figures, anyone could see that in the near future, Vast Universe Galaxy's high-level figures would inevitably be reshuffled. This also meant that Vast Universe Galaxy's resources and influences would be redistributed. This was Controller Chen Wuliang challenging the Shao family, the #1 family in Vast Universe Galaxy that no one had been able to shake in 1,000,000,000,000 years. Samsara has been quiet for so many years. Chen Wuliang is still as strong and overbearing as before. It seems that after reaching cutting Tao, he has the confidence to contend with the Shao family's old ancestor. That's impossible. What kind of character is the Shao family's old ancestor? He's an old undying man who has lived for 1,000,000,000,000 years. Even our Vast Universe Galaxy's strongest 4th-generation controller, Yilan, wasn't able to shake him. Chen Wuliang has only just reached cutting Tao and reached true immortal. In my opinion, it's possible that the Shao family's old ancestor has already passed away, only then would Chen Wuliang dare to do this. It's also possible, after all, the Shao family's old ancestor hasn't appeared for at least 10 million years. In any case, Chen Wuliang dares to do this either because of his personality or because he has the confidence to do so. Even though the Shao family's old ancestor has passed away, the Shao family has paid a huge price in the past 2 years because Chen Wuliang succeeded in cutting Tao. Many of the old undying men have taken the risk of cutting Tao. It's said that more than 100 ascetic Grand Supreme Elders have died in cutting Tao, but 12 of them were lucky enough to succeed. After paying such a huge price, they have 12 cutting Tao experts. Including Chen Wuliang's 2 companions, there are only 3 of them. How can they resist? Yes, in short, it's going to be lively this time. I think it's time for a change in controller. When that time comes, the Shao family will really be able to cover the sky with one hand. It's not that easy. Don't forget how strong Chen Wuliang was before he reached cutting Tao. I dare not say that he could dominate the universe, but who in Vast Universe Galaxy could rival him? Now that he has successfully reached cutting Tao, how terrifying will his combat power be? There's one more thing that you've forgotten. What? The second world. The second world? Yes. Don't forget that the second world was created by the strongest controller, Yilan. Before Chen Wuliang became the controller, the second world was obstructed by the Shao family and could not be popularized in Vast Universe Galaxy. But after Chen Wuliang ascended, this situation changed and he now has the highest authority over the second world. I believe Yilan must have reached an agreement with Chen Wuliang while in Nirvana. This is a terrifying force. Even if Yilan is in Nirvana, he is still a character on the same level as the Shao family's ancestor. That makes sense. It seems that we shouldn't make our stance clear for the time being. It's better to play dumb and wait for the dust to settle before we make a decision. How can there be such a good thing in the world? To play it safe means to lose the initiative. Losing the initiative means that it's difficult to even maintain our current position. It's better to make our stance clear in advance and take a gamble. There are risks and benefits. I choose to support the controller, Qin Wuyang. I still think that the Shao family has a better chance of winning. What a headache. In the void, in the chaotic space outside of East Flow City, dozens of old men had gathered together, discussing the situation of vast universe galaxy. They all had headaches. Whether it was in the mortal world or the world of cultivation, choosing a side was often done out of helplessness. For the sake of benefits and for the sake of self-preservation, there were many who did so for the sake of gratitude. To put it bluntly, as long as one wasn't a peak character, they were nothing more than a chess piece. These high-level matters weren't something that Qin Hao could know about, nor were they things that ordinary cultivators could know about. However, for a time, East Flow City had become the most lively city in vast universe galaxy. There was no doubt about this. The cultivators that came from vast universe galaxy's 36 stars as well as the great cities of vast universe star caused East Flow City's population to reach an unprecedented level. In particular, the cultivators that returned from the primal mystic realm didn't care about the countless merchant associations that tried to win them over and directly rushed to East Flow City. All of this was because of death god Qin Hao. Those that hadn't gone to the primal mystic realm didn't know just how high death god Qin Hao's prestige was within the primal mystic realm. They also didn't know just what sort of status death god Qin Hao and the other members of Proud Heaven held in the hearts of all the human cultivators within the primal mystic realm. Chapter 890. Brother Qin. Boss. We support you. Brother Qin. We also support you. Under Fan Lang's guidance, Long Ting and Qin Shui walked to the left and right of Qin Hao. As they stepped out of the Alliance's aircraft plaza, countless East Flow City disciples that had just returned from the primal mystic realm all cupped their fists and greeted Qin Hao, their expressions filled with excitement. There were also a few outer members of Proud Heavens who called him Brother Qin. Fan Donglu and Fan Dongxing knew each other, but only a few knew Qin Hao. This situation made Fan Lang, a Hongmeng supremacy, exclaim in his heart. Not to mention those who took the initiative to greet Qin Hao. Just by looking at the way everyone looked at Qin Hao, one could feel the status of Qin Hao in the hearts of these people. Fan Lang, a primordial Grand Mist sovereign, was walking together with Huang Xiaolong, yet he was ignored by these young disciples. What kind of prestige was this? At least Fan Lang had never felt it before. Thank you. Thank you. Qin Hao was also slightly moved, and he cupped his fists all the way. Even he did not expect that these cultivators, who he did not know at all, would worship and be so enthusiastic about him. God of Slaughter Qin Hao. In a corner of the aircraft plaza, a figure who had disguised his appearance and aura stared at Qin Hao who was winning from both sides and murmured, "What a powerful soul." Unfortunately, it hasn't even reached the peak of the late stage of Heaven Immortal, let alone the perfect stage. Humph, what's there to be proud of? Except for being a little handsome, how can he be compared with Brother Shao? His aura is not even as good as mine. Handsome? How can he be more handsome than Brother Shao? Ahem. Yes, I mean, he's just more handsome than me. Compared with Brother Shao, he's inferior in all aspects. However, his woman is really stunning. I really don't know, how did he dominate the primal secret realm and make so many people believe in him? It seems that the Earth Immortal Stage foreign race genius who entered back then was not that good at all. Next to the figure, a few young experts at the peak of the late Heaven Immortal Stage with powerful aura were also staring at Qin Hao from afar, and they were full of disdain. These figures were Shao Yan and his followers. That's enough. He's not as simple as you think. Shao Yan narrowed his eyes and berated, however, no matter how strong he is, he can't escape from my palm. Humph, even though the controller was so high profile, he still couldn't stop the battle of 10 years. There was only one result for him, death. Let's go. After Xiao Yan finished speaking, he quickly left with several people. After seeing Qin Hao with his own eyes, even though he knew that Qin Hao had concealed his aura, Xiao Yan still believed in his keen senses and intuition. The god of slaughter Qin Hao was no match for him. Senior, is the controller in the Fan family? Qin Hao could not help but ask when they finally walked out of the aircraft plaza and entered the teleportation circle inside the city. However, Qin Hao only called him controller and not father. Up until now, Qin Hao was almost certain that Qin Hai was Qin Wuyang. But until he saw him in person, he still couldn't be sure. The controller has an important matter to deal with in the East Flow City Alliance. However, the two true immortals Han Mei and Xue Mei are waiting for your return in the Fan family. Mother, hearing Fan Lang's words, Qin Hao showed a touch of excitement. Han Mei, Xue Mei, two true immortals. Wasn't Xue Mei his mother? Thinking of his mother's appearance, the softest part of Qin Hao's heart would be touched. He would never forget his childhood experience, and even more so, how his mother firmly believed in supporting the family by herself. She went through hardships to raise him and his younger siblings, and even had to take care of his disabled father. At this moment, Qin Hao already knew that those were only one of their lives in the cycle of reincarnation. At this moment, his parents, who had jumped out of the cycle of reincarnation and severed their Tao to become true immortals, might not have any impression of them. However, those were the most precious memories in the depths of Qin Hao's heart. For his mother, for his family, he embarked on the path of cultivation and achieved what he had today. If he knew that Qin Hai was the controller, Qin Hao would more or less feel a little estranged. However, when it came to his mother, he did not feel any estrangement. In Qin Hao's heart, everything was directed by his father. To this day, it had been a very long time since he last saw his mother. The last time he saw her was in the mortal world of the eastern continent of the Wuji planet. At that time, his mother was still an ignorant mortal. Mother, your son can finally see you. Qin Hao said in his heart with an excited expression. Qin Shue's expression was also slightly emotional. Wasn't Han Mei true immortal her mother? When they were in the primitive secret realm, she and Qin Hao had already noticed Han Mei true immortal's abnormality, and guessed a certain possibility. Although she felt wronged and sad at that time, she had already let go of the knot in her heart. After all, reincarnation was reincarnation, something that almost all cultivators could not avoid. Not to mention that Han Mei true immortal was still by her side after awakening, even if she severed the memories of this life, so what? The great Tao was heartless. In order to reach the peak of martial arts, one had to sever their emotions and forget their memories. Too much. Fan family, Core Palace. Han Mei true immortal and Xue Mei true immortal sat side by side, accompanied by the Fan family's patriarch and senior members. They're here, Tianxi. Xue Mei true immortal couldn't help but want to stand up, but Han Mei true immortal grabbed her hand. The Fan family's patriarch and senior members all stood up and walked towards the palace door. Mother. From afar, he saw his mother, who was sitting upright but had an excited expression on her face. Seeing that familiar gaze filled with motherly love, as well as the sparkling tears in her eyes, Qin Hao couldn't control himself anymore. His body flashed, and he suddenly sped up several times. He didn't even have time to bow to the Fan family's patriarch and the others, and directly rushed to his mother. Although his mother was already a high and mighty true immortal, her appearance was still the same as when Qin Hao last saw her. That gaze, that expression, if it wasn't a mother looking forward to her son's return, who could it be? Qin Hao knew very well what this meant. A true immortal's mother, it was impossible for her to still have the appearance of a reincarnated mortal, but now she appeared in this appearance, mother. Plop. Qin Hao directly knelt in front of his mother, tears soaking his eyes. There was no trace of the god of slaughter Qin Hao's appearance. But he didn't care, and didn't care about any image. In front of his mother, he was only a son, an unfilial son who ran away from home for many years. Tianxi, Shui Mei true immortal leaned over, trembling, and held Qin Hao's shoulders. Mother, I finally see you again, quickly get up, let mother take a good look at you. Little Shui. Mother. Qin Shui wasn't as emotional as Qin Hao, nor did she kneel down. She only threw herself into Han Mei True Immortal's arms, but turned her pretty face, looking at Qin Hao and Shui Mei True Immortal. Little Shui, mother left without saying goodbye, are you angry with mother? Angry. Qin Shui pursed her lips and said, but the little hand that hugged Han Mei True Immortal tightened a little. Han Mei True Immortal smiled, and also looked at Qin Hao and Shui Mei. She said, how, after seeing mother, you forgot your master, right? Sister, should Tianxi call you master, mother-in-law, concubine, or aunt? Hearing Han Mei True Immortal's words, Qin Hao, who was excited, was a little embarrassed. Shui Mei wiped the corner of her eyes, and helped Qin Hao out. She said, little Shui, should I call you aunt, second mother, or mother-in-law? This was a difficult question for Han Mei. Calling her master was naturally not a problem, mother-in-law was also not a problem, concubine was also completely correct, and aunt was also not a bad thing. It had to be said, whether it was Qin Hao or Qin Shui, it was a very complicated matter to call each other's mother. What should they call each other? At this time, the head of the Fan family and others tactfully left the palace. At the same time, they felt very strange about the relationship between Qin Hao and Qin Shui and the two true immortals. Fortunately, Fan Donglu and Fan Dongsheng were clear about the situation, so they understood what was going on. Let them call me whatever they want, it's just a name. I'll call you master, I'm used to it. At this time, Qin Hao had also calmed down. He hugged his mother and smiled at Han Mei True Immortal. After a slight hesitation, Qin Shui bowed and said in a low voice, greetings, auntie. He. The two true immortals were fine, but Long Ting, who was standing behind Qin Shui, laughed out loud. This is little Ting, right? So beautiful. True immortal Shui Mei looked at Long Ting dotingly and asked. Greetings, mother-in-law, your daughter-in-law pays her respects to you. Long Ting took the initiative to hug true immortal Shui Mei's arm and said intimately. Her face was not red, she was not panting, and she was not nervous at all. Qin Shui and Qin Hao could not help but admire this girl's shamelessness. Good, what a straightforward girl. Mother likes it, just call me mother in the future. How, you were the one who did the Happy Valley thing, right? After Qin Hao, Qin Shui, and Long Ting sat down, Han Mei True Immortal directly looked at Qin Hao and asked. Tianxi, where are little Yan, little Nan, and the others? True Immortal Shui Mei asked. Master, mother, I'll call them over. Qin Hao patted his head and said. His father, mother, and Master Han Mei True Immortal Shui had all arrived. Now, no matter how bold the Bai and Wan families were, they would not dare to do anything to them. Qi. Qin Hao suddenly released an extremely powerful soul force, which instantly dissipated into the void. Wang. Outside East Flow City, the old god was hiding in the void, waiting for news. He was slightly startled. He could clearly sense Qin Hao's summons. This was the connection between the two of them through the power of their contract. What's going on? Could it be that Master has already solved the problem? Faced with the increasing number of experts in East Flow City, even the old god did not dare to rashly investigate. After arriving in the wilderness outside East Flow City, he had remained hidden, completely restraining his aura. He knew nothing of what was happening in East Flow City. Should be, Qi. The old god silently disappeared from where he was, tearing through the void at an astonishing speed. He quickly headed in the direction Qin Hao had summoned him. Master. At the same time, Little Wisdom One, which had returned with the fleet, respectfully called out in Qin Hao's mind. Go pick up the old god and the others. Replace him and bring him here, yes, master. Wang. A light flashed between Chen Hao's eyebrows, and Little Wisdom One immediately flew out from between his eyebrows and tore through the void. Chapter 891. How? What's going on? Chen Shui and Long Ting were puzzled. They had no idea that Chen Hao had left the Alliance fleet during the 6 months he had spent in the vast universe star system. They also didn't know that Chen Nan, Chen Yan, and the others had been captured by the Bai and Wan families. They knew that the Happy Valley had been destroyed overnight, and countless people had died. However, like most people, they thought it was Chen Wuliang, the controller, who had done it. I arrived at the Ying planet 3 months in advance. The Wan and Bai families captured Xiao Nan, Xiao Yan, Ao Bo, First King, and the others. Even Sister Mei, Butt Face, and Xiao Ling weren't spared. Chen Hao explained briefly. How did you do it? According to the information I found, there were 6 Hongmeng Supremes sealing them. But you, with one move, not only did you break the seal to save them, but you also scared off the 6 Hongmeng Supremes. Han Mei True Immortal couldn't help but ask. She knew Chen Hao quite well. From the information that Chen Wuliang had gathered, she was basically sure that Chen Hao was behind the incident at Happy Valley. However, she still did not know how he had done it. Master, that was a small toy I made with countless precious treasures. I don't have the ability to fight against the Hongmeng Supremes. Chen Hao said. Small toy, what kind of small toy could be so powerful? It's similar to the method I used to make the aircraft. It's basically outside the scope of the law of divine power. I see. Han Mei True Immortal frowned slightly. By now, she already knew that Chen Hao was a life form from another universe, and she was curious about what kind of world it was. However, this involved Chen Hao's greatest privacy, so even she couldn't ask directly. However, Chen Hao's current situation made Han Mei True Immortal ponder. An hour later, Chen Nan, Chen Yan, and the others were taken to the Fan family. After some excitement, they all attended the welcoming banquet prepared by the Fan family for Chen Hao and the others. Although Han Mei and Shui Mei True Immortals were slightly worried about the battle between Chen Hao and Xiao Yan, no one mentioned it from the beginning to the end. The two of them had learned from Chen Wuliang that this was unavoidable. There were only 3 days for Chen Hao to calm himself down and adjust himself. There was no point in talking too much, and it might even affect his mood. Chen Hao, the 2 elders, the higher-ups of the Fan family, and many brothers and sisters of different realms, as well as the first senior brother, second senior brother, Lu Qingyang, Guan Nanchao, and the others from the Wuji planet, drank until late at night. When they finally finished, they returned to the palace that the Fan family had specially arranged for Chen Hao. Looking at the huge cultivation room full of restrictions and top-level facilities, Chen Hao sat down cross-legged and let out a long sigh. Master. Chen Shaoqing appeared beside Chen Hao obediently and gently massaged Chen Hao's shoulders. Originally, Chen Hao had left Chen Shaoqing on the Alliance's battleship and asked her to follow the Fan family's captain and manager to wait for him there. After all, until now, Chen Shaoqing was still Chen Hao's secret to Chen Shui, Long Ting, and the others. Even though Chen Hao knew that the girls wouldn't do anything to him after learning of Chen Shaoqing's existence, Chen Hao still had to consider the girls' feelings and find the right time to let Chen Shaoqing appear. Now was not the right time to be in such a mess. Master arranged for me to wait here for Master. Chen Shaoqing said softly, Master. I want to go into your great world, not now. Wait until after my battle with Xiao Yan. Chen Hao turned around and pulled Chen Shaoqing into his arms. Master, whether dead or alive, Shaoqing will follow you. Let Shaoqing go in, it's only 3 days. This battle will definitely be difficult. I don't know what will happen then. If it affects the great world in my mind, but I don't die, but you die, what should I do? Be obedient. I understand your intentions, but this isn't the time to let your emotions affect your decisions. Come, let your big brother relax. Chen Hao's lips curved up in a smile. Chen Shaoqing's small face blushed red, but she revealed a touch of excitement. She obediently stretched out her small hand towards Qinhao. There was no dual cultivation, only pure venting of primitive desires. After continuing for 2 hours, Qinhao had completely discarded all the negative emotions and worries in his heart, and he just held Qin Shaoqing in his arms and entered into the land of dreams. He didn't cultivate any lost skills. He put down all his belongings and fell asleep like a mortal. The night sky was clear and the stars shined brightly. In the massive East Flow city, every corner was still brightly lit. Large and small taverns, even the streets and alleys, including the several thousand-mile-wide mountain ranges near the station of some sects, were all occupied by cultivators from all over the vast universe galaxy. They sat in groups of 3 to 5, drinking and chatting, bustling with noise and excitement. Chi! Chi! From time to time, streams of light would streak across the sky, entering East Flow City from afar. There were masters, ordinary cultivators, and occasionally there would be people who emitted a terrifying aura that swept through the world. It was lively and lively, but behind this liveliness, East Flow City was filled with a tense atmosphere. By now, the news that the ruler of vast universe galaxy, Chen Wuliang, had summoned all the high-level figures of the Temple Alliance to East Flow City had spread like wildfire throughout the entire cultivation world. Similarly, 3 days later, the decisive battle between Death God Chen Hao and the #1 invincible heavenly immortal Xiao Yan was also known throughout the city. These two events had occurred at almost the same time in East Flow City. Anyone could guess what the reason was. Countless Supreme Elder Masters and countless young geniuses had gathered. Even though the vast majority of people had concealed their auras, this still caused the skies above East Flow City to be filled with strange phenomena. Chi. Late at night, in the skies above the Fan family station, there would occasionally be extremely powerful auras that would tear through the void and arrive at the Fan family's void restrictions. Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yuyu, and the two beautiful sisters, under the guidance of the Hongmeng Supreme Elders that Chen Wuliang had sent, arrived at the Fan family. Besides them, Pan Long, Lan Feng, Long Yi, as well as Du Jing, Chen Ling, Li Yang, and the others had also arrived at the Fan family, meeting up with Chen Shua, Long Ting, Pan Donglu, Pan Dongsheng, and the others. In the end, Hu Meinyang actually came hand in hand with Bailey Ningbing. Wang. DDD. DDD. On this night, even more cultivators who were immersed in the second world suddenly heard an urgent alarm sound in their minds. When all the cultivators opened the message in shock, they were all overwhelmed with shock. The second world's highest order, the second world will be closed for 3 days. All cultivators in the second world, no matter what they were doing, were ordered to leave within 2 hours. Otherwise, they would be forcefully interrupted. This was something that had never happened since the birth of the second world. At the same time, it also made countless people associate this with what was about to happen in East Flow City, Hiss. The moment the second world was closed, in the vast universe star's holy palace, a slight fluctuation suddenly appeared in the depths of the back mountain that was classified as a forbidden area. Apart from the controller, no one could enter. An old man appeared out of thin air. Chapter 892. The old man did not exude any powerful aura. If a cultivator saw him, they might even mistake him for an old man with one foot in the grave. He had a stooped figure, snow-white hair, a white beard, and a face full of wrinkles. His teeth had all fallen out, and his eyes were as turbid as a dead fish's. It seemed like a gust of wind could blow him away. He was old. Anyone who saw the old man could feel the old man's exhaustion. The air of the vast thousand domains is so comfortable. The old man breathed in the fresh air with intoxication and muttered to himself, "How many years has it been? I finally got some information about little Jade. How can I let others destroy the old man?" The old man looked up at the void and slowly walked forward. There was still no energy fluctuation, but when the old man's feet landed on the void, it was as if he was stepping on solid ground. He ascended to the sky with 1 step, split the void with 2 steps, and fled with 3 steps. Even the supreme restriction of the sacred temple could not stop him in the slightest. There were no ripples of being torn apart, and the old man disappeared without a trace. 10 minutes later, a stooped figure appeared on the streets of East Flow City. At this moment, his aura was that of an ordinary earth immortal. His turbid eyes swept over the people coming and going as he hobbled toward the alliance of East Flow City. The vast thousand domains is still the vast thousand domains after all. The old man looked around and saw familiar figures. He knew every cultivator that he saw. Not only did he know them, but he also knew many of their secrets. Everyone, even the weak human immortals, had no secrets in his eyes. However, what he saw in the vast thousand domains was still fundamentally different from the information in his boundless memories. Patriarch, please come out of seclusion. Our Shao clan has paid a heavy price, and only 12 people have successfully severed their Tao. It's not enough to deter Chen Wuyang. He's already issued an order to inform the Sacred Temple and the Alliance's higher-ups to gather in East Flow City. It's obvious that he wants to reshuffle the cards. If our strongest force can't suppress him, our Shao clan's title as the #1 clan will be hard to preserve. Even if we do, our resources and fortune will be stripped away. Moreover, bastard. This old man said, don't bother me again. Patriarch. Please listen to this disciple. What's there to say? The old man had said that Chen Wuyang wouldn't dare to do anything to the Shao family. You asked for it. Do you really think he's afraid of me? Although his strength after cutting path was not enough to be feared, he had the support of that old fart, Yi Lan, behind him. The current status and power of the Shao family is already the limit of what he can endure, and this is also the limit of what I can do. Yet, you still want to control the entire vast universe galaxy. This is really... Patriarch, the second world has stopped operating. All the cultivators have been cleared out. The Shao clan's patriarch knelt on the ground with a grave expression. He had no choice but to interrupt the patriarch's words. What? Ancestor, I wouldn't dare to go against your words. However, the second realm has closed. It's very likely that Yi Lan is going to make a move. How is that possible? Old man Ye's nirvana has reached a critical juncture. If he cuts off the second world and his real body appears, won't he be delayed for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even longer? I don't understand either, there's no reason. Alright, since that's the case, I'll go with you. You guys go first. When the time comes, the old man will naturally appear. Yes, Patriarch. I'll take my leave. The Shao clan's patriarch bowed and retreated. Only when he walked out of the clan's forbidden area did he turn into a stream of light with an excited expression. Could there be other mysteries behind this matter? It must be so, otherwise, you would never have come out of seclusion. The Shao clan's patriarch slowly walked out from the depths of the forbidden area and thought to himself. He was very clear about the current situation. As the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy, the Shao clan's overall strength was definitely an existence that dominated the vast universe galaxy. It was not an exaggeration to say that they controlled half of the vast universe galaxy. However, it was impossible for the Shao clan to use Qin Hao's matter to seize the position of controller. The Shao clan's patriarch was very clear that although Chen Wuyang had not established any forces, as the controller of the vast universe galaxy, he was definitely not as simple as a single person. Moreover, Chen Wuyang's absolute strength was not something that the 12 cutting path experts of the Shao clan could compare to. In the current world, how could a controller be promoted without the strongest individual strength? Most importantly, Chen Wuyang and Yi Lan were still cooperating. Otherwise, the second world would not have been popularized in the vast universe galaxy. The Shao clan's patriarch could not figure out why Yi Lan would come out of seclusion at this time. After all, the current situation seemed chaotic, but in the end, it would not be chaotic at all. Chen Wuyang did not dare to do anything to the Shao clan. At most, he would weaken their resources a little and kill the chicken to warn the monkey. This was something that he had already discussed with Chen Wuliang. Then why did Yi Lan not hesitate to come out of seclusion at the critical moment of nirvana? Damn it! Old man, I want to see what kind of tricks you, Yi, are playing. The Shao clan's patriarch's figure directly disappeared without a trace. When he woke up, the first thing that entered his eyes was Qin Shaoqing, who was completely naked like a little lamb, lying by his side. Qin Hao lightly stroked her smooth and jade-like skin and said, "Shaoqing, wake up, master, stay here. I'm going out to take a look." "Master, let me enter your great world first." "When you're fighting, let me out." "All right," Qin Hao said after a slight hesitation. Qin Shaoqing's original identity was just a mortal core. She had no family or friends. Strictly speaking, she should not even have her own thoughts. She was an existence that had been brainwashed. Now that she had someone to rely on, it was like a life-saving straw. There was no doubt that she relied heavily on him. "Greetings, young master." When Qin Hao stepped out of the palace, an old man from the Fan clan named Daluo Jingxian instantly came in front of Qin Hao and bowed. "Young master." "Senior, just call me Qin Hao," Qin Hao said with a slight frown. This form of address was no doubt because of his father, but Qin Hao was not used to it. "I wouldn't dare." "Young master, if you have any orders, just tell me." "Take me to see Dong Lu and Dong Sheng," Qin Hao said directly and did not bother about this form of address. "Okay, young master. Last night, many of your friends came. They should all be together. I'll take you now." "Looks like there's no need for that." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, several figures came as fast as lightning. Fan Dong Lu and Fan Dong Sheng were in front, followed by Qin Shui, Long Ting, Helian Wuzi, Tan Tai Lian, Xia Yuyu, the Leng sisters, Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, Long Yi, and the others. In an instant, they were in front of Qin Hao. Behind them, Hu Mainyang and Bailey Ningbing had also arrived. Chapter 893. Hiss. Big Brother. While everyone was excitedly approaching Qin Hao, Chen Ling and Li Yang suddenly appeared and took the lead to reach Qin Hao's side as they shouted excitedly. "You're all here." Qin Hao smiled faintly and nodded slightly at the crowd. His gaze slowly swept across everyone present. "Big Brother, are you ready?" Du Jing asked. "There's nothing to prepare." Qin Hao smiled faintly. "Senior brother, tell us the truth. How confident are you? Sister-in-law Joy has already told us that you haven't even unsealed your transcendent mortal state. That's not important. The condition I set for unsealing my transcendent mortal state is to be unsealed when my life is threatened," Qin Hao said. Qin Hao. Upon hearing Qin Hao's words, Hu Mainyang, who was standing at the back and did not step forward, suddenly said, "What you're doing isn't right. Xiao Yan has already reached the peak state where he can trigger heaven's punishment at any time. His strength is even more terrifying than the rumors say. I know you're very confident, but you can't underestimate him when you're fighting him. His innate skill is very powerful. I think it's better for you to unseal his transcendent mortal state in advance. In a battle between experts, one wrong step will lead to many wrong steps. By the time you encounter danger and unseal your transcendent mortal state, you've already missed the opportunity." "That's right, Big Brother. I think Miss Hu is right," Lan Feng said. Everyone nodded in agreement. At this point, everyone had a good understanding of Xiao Yan. However, the more they knew, the more they realized how terrifying Xiao Yan was. The Xiao family was the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy for hundreds of millions of years. It was said that Xiao Yan had awakened the bloodline of the Xiao family's ancestor. How terrifying was he? Xiao Yan's experiences and legends were probably unable to reflect his true strength. Even though everyone knew how monstrous Qin Hao was, Qin Hao had only stepped into the peak of the advanced heavenly celestial stage for a short period of time. Moreover, he had just stepped out of the primitive secret realm and had yet to consolidate his foundation before he had to fight Xiao Yan to the death. No matter how they looked at it, he was at a disadvantage. Miss Hu is right, but it's a pity that there's nothing I can do about it. When I was transforming into a mortal, the soul contract that I set up was extremely strict. There's no way that my own people would be able to undo it for me. Only in a life or death situation, or when my current realm has surpassed my original realm. Chen Hao shook his head slightly. He looked at everyone and said, "All right, let's go in and talk. Is something really going to happen?" When Chen Hao told his younger siblings that he felt that he was going to face a great calamity, he wasn't being an alarmist. As a cultivator's cultivation increased, their understanding of the laws of the heavenly Tao would grow deeper and deeper, and their instincts would grow sharper and sharper. Under normal circumstances, they would have a profound sense towards impending danger. Especially for some cultivators who were nearing the end of their lifespans and had seen through life and death, they would even be able to see the scenes of thousands or tens of thousands of years in the future. They would be able to comprehend the future and see through the mysteries of the heavens. Chen Hao indeed seemed to have a premonition about the coming final battle. It was as if he had seen a point in the trajectory of fate, but he could not see it clearly or grasp it. This feeling made Chen Hao faintly uneasy. And just last night, after Chen Hao fell asleep like a mortal, he actually had a dream. This was simply a joke. One had to know that he was already considered an invincible celestial immortal. Even when he was sleeping, his powerful soul and will would remain in a state of emptiness. There should not have been a dream. Dreams, what one thought during the day, one would dream at night. Under normal circumstances, it was the hidden consciousness that caused mischief. And a cultivator's control over the subconscious was hundreds or thousands of times stronger than a mortal's. No matter what, there shouldn't have been a dream. But Chen Hao had a dream, and the dream seemed to be in a trance, as if it was announcing something. This made Chen Hao feel strange, and at the same time, his uneasiness increased again. Fate. Chen Hao did not believe in fate. He only believed in himself. He believed that one day, through his own efforts, he would be able to jump out of the long river of fate. His fate would be in his own hands, not in the hands of the heavens. But Chen Hao also knew that whether it was fate, luck, or opportunity, these things were too profound for him now. For the time being, it was not something he could resist. Not to mention him, even his father, Chen Wuliang, could not do it. This was an invisible hand that controlled the 9 heavens and 10 earths, the universe, the starry sky, and all living things. How could it be easy to transcend fate? Among the 3,000 great Daos, the great fate technique was the most profound existence. Chen Hao was still unable to cultivate, let alone control it. What's going to happen? No matter how strong Xiao Yan is, he's still a celestial immortal. Even if he can trigger the heavenly punishment and step into the Daoyuo Jingxian during the battle, so what? I can do it too. Even if I'm not a match for him, it's impossible for him to kill me. But why? Chen Hao shook his head. He could not figure it out, so he could only temporarily put it to the back of his mind. How? What's wrong? Chen Shui asked. Everyone could sense Chen Hao's abnormality. It's nothing, Chen Hao said. As he spoke, everyone followed him into the palace. Chen Hao closed the door and said, "Everyone, take a seat. I'm very happy that all of you are here." Thank you. To everyone's surprise, Chen Hao looked at Hu Mainyang, Bailey Ningbing, Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, and the others. Boss, what are you talking about? We'll share hardships and blessings together. You're our boss. You're treating us like outsiders. Du Jing said. That's right. Boss, why are you acting so strange all of a sudden? Lan Feng asked in confusion. Whoosh, Chen Hao smiled lightly as rays of light suddenly surged out from between his brows. After that, countless ancient magic treasures, jade slips of inheritance, and spiritual items of the heavens and the earth fluttered and floated before everyone, causing the entire palace to be drowned in the aura of treasures. You can divide these among yourselves. Even if they're useless, you can give them to your sect, family, and friends. Boss, what are you doing? Senior brother, what do you mean? Chen Hao. Hu Mainyang frowned. Bailey Ningbing, on the other hand, had a strange look in her eyes. This was because many of the items that Chen Hao took out floated in front of her. The only ones who didn't were the girls who were related to Chen Hao, as well as Chen Ling and Li Yang. Don't worry, I'm not making arrangements for my death. Although Xiao Yan is strong, I'm still confident that I can fight him. It's just that I have a premonition that something unexpected might happen. Moreover, it should be a great calamity for me. Chen Hao said helplessly. At this moment, he could only say it out loud so that everyone would accept his things. Moreover, by saying it out loud, he could give everyone a heads up so that they wouldn't have to worry about him in the future. Chen Hao believed that since he could sense a calamity, it wouldn't be death. However, what exactly was going to happen was not something that Chen Hao could sense. Calamity? I can see it, I can sense it, but I can't see it clearly, I can't catch it. Keep these things, perhaps I'll have to disappear for a long time. When I return, don't forget me, Hao. Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tan Tai Lian and the rest all cried out. Especially all of you, you have to wait for me to come back. I don't want to be all alone when I return. Chen Hao waved his hand to stop the girls from speaking and continued to say with a smile. Hao, what exactly did you sense? Under normal circumstances, only cultivators who are nearing the end of their lives and have seen through life and death can see the future. Helian Wuzi suddenly said. After experiencing the endless cycle of reincarnation, her understanding of reincarnation and fate was much stronger than everyone present. Chen Hao's seemingly casual words made her unable to calm down. Nearing the end of my life? Xiao Wu, I can confirm that I'm not in that situation. Then what did you see? Helian Wuzi asked again. This. I just saw all of you crying, as if you thought I was already dead. But I couldn't tell you, let alone contact you. It seemed like I was very, very far away, so far that it would take me a long time to return. Did you just see it? No, I was dreaming last night when I was sleeping, dreaming. Everyone's expression suddenly became extremely strange. Boss. Are you serious? You can still dream now. That's too exaggerated. Lan Feng said. This is indeed a little strange. I think it's probably because there's still a lot of potential in me that hasn't been unlocked, that's why there's a dream. Well, it seems that this is the only reasonable explanation. I can only say that I'm too strong. But, since I had a dream, I'd rather believe it. If I really have to leave for a period of time, don't worry too much. Take these things, I have a lot of them anyway. Chen Hao said with a relaxed expression. Ha! You scared me, senior brother. If you want to give us something, just give it to us directly. How can we not accept it? How can we not accept it? I'll take it. Chi! Coiling Dragon directly took the treasures in front of him into his mind space. Ha! Brother Pan is right. Boss, is there anything else you need? How about you take them all out? We don't mind. You bunch of fellows, get out of here. Wang! Suddenly, a heart-palpitating pressure appeared. It wasn't just Chen Hao and the others, but all of East Flow City and all of the cultivators were instantly stunned, their minds falling into a daze. Greetings, Controller. At the same time, a voice that resounded through the heavens and earth spread into everyone's ears. At this moment, all of the heavenly Tao laws of East Flow City stopped revolving. Heaven and earth energy froze and time came to a standstill. Retract your pressure. Chi! A voice that was filled with endless majesty sounded. Immediately, it was like a mighty spring breeze that swept over the entire land. It was also at this moment that all the cultivators, who had lost their minds and were on the verge of collapsing, immediately felt as though a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. They immediately sat limply on the ground. Even Chen Hao paled, his body shivering. Luckily, Chen Hao and the others were sitting down, otherwise they would have also slumped to the ground, unable to resist. The pressure of a true immortal, Chen Hao and the others glanced at each other in amazement. So strong. Hu Mainyang muttered, the high-level meeting has begun, unfortunately, we don't have the qualifications to watch. So strong. At the same time, in the conference room of the core palace of East Flow City's alliance, there were countless old men with looks that were even more ordinary than mortals, old women with white hair, and even beautiful middle-aged women. All of them were looking at the middle-aged Chen Wuliang in amazement. Chapter 894. It was just a greeting, but the top figures of the vast universe galaxy had a new understanding of Chen Wuliang's terrifying strength. Just now, nearly 20 old true immortals had released their pressure on Chen Wuliang at the same time, but Chen Wuliang had easily resolved it. It was like the spring wind and rain, warming the entire East Flow City. It was the power of one person. Even true immortal Han Mei and true immortal Snow Plum didn't help him. Chen Wuliang, as expected of Chen Wuliang. The power after cutting Dao is really immeasurable, admirable. At this moment, the Shao family patriarch's expression changed again and again, but his eyes were hazy. He seemed to be flattering, but his words were full of disrespect. No, compared to the Shao family patriarch and brother Shao, I'm still a little lacking, brother Shao. Chen Wuliang, you think too highly of yourself. Is that so? Even if your old ancestor came over, he would still call me brother Chen. Is my name something a junior like you can call me by? You're courting death. Chi. To everyone's surprise, Chen Wuliang was so domineering. Not only did he speak in a domineering manner, but he also caught the master of the Shao clan by grabbing the air. It was as if he was catching a chicken in his pants. Chen Wuliang, you, Chi. Just as a genuine immortal of the Shao clan shouted in anger, Chen Wuliang opened his palm again. This time, it was even more terrifying than when he had captured the Shao clan leader. His palm seemed to have turned into a huge black hole, containing a mystery that even the top experts present could not see through. He had actually absorbed the Shao clan's hidden power, which had been hidden for millions or even tens of millions of years, into his palm. True immortal, humph. I killed peak Earth immortals, peak Sky immortals, peak Sky immortals, peak Sky immortals, peak Sky immortals, Zenith immortals, peak Hongmeng. Now, you old farts with one foot in the grave who luckily succeeded in cutting Dao dare to challenge me? You want to use my son to seize the position of ruler? Did you eat shit? I've only reincarnated 100 times. It seems you've forgotten who I am. Motherfucker. What, you still want to fight? Bang bang. Chen Wuliang waved his hand and threw the two of them to the ground. He stepped on their heads with 1 foot each. Thousands of Dao principles imprisoned them and they could not even move. But this was not important. What was important was that he was doing this in front of all the heroes of the world. Chen. Controller Chen, what do you want? Among the remaining 11 true immortals of the Shao clan, one of them said with a gloomy expression. Even though they already knew that Chen Wuliang was very strong after the cutting path stage, they did not expect him to be this strong. What was even more unexpected was that Chen Wuliang would be so domineering. This was a direct slap to the Shao family's face, and he did not give them any face at all. Chen Wuliang, kill me if you dare. Let me tell you, our old ancestor has already left the mountain. I'd like to see just how capable you are. Kill me, huh? Kill me if you have the guts. Chen Wuliang's domineering and decisive means made the patriarch of the Shao clan so angry that blood rushed to his head. He had completely turned into a jumping clown. You're the one who started all this trouble, aren't you? The Shao family is the #1 family that has stood tall in the vast universe galaxy for trillions of years. To have a patriarch like you is truly a disgrace. If it weren't for Brother Shao, I would kill you right now. I can spare you the death penalty, but you can't escape punishment for disturbing the order of the vast universe galaxy. I'll send you to the ancient chaos void to train for 10,000 years. You'll be responsible for your own life and death. How dare you? The patriarch of the Shao clan roared in horror. The thousands of senior members of the Divine Temple and the Alliance shuddered and kept quiet out of fear. The ancient chaos desolate region was the #1 danger zone in the vast universe galaxy. Not to mention the Grand Mist Sovereign Shao family's patriarch, even a true immortal wouldn't dare to rashly enter, let alone enter for 10,000 years. What was the difference between that and death? There are only things in this world that I can't do, such as giving birth to a child. There is nothing that I don't dare to do. Open. Buzz. Chen Wuliang said arrogantly. With a light shout, the space-time gate began to condense in front of him. Chen Wuliang, I'm the patriarch of the Shao clan. You're going to destroy the Shao clan. Old ancestor, save me. Seeing the space-time gate about to form, the Shao clan patriarch was so scared that he nearly pissed himself. He desperately struggled to break free from Chen Wuliang's shackles and screamed out loud. At this point, he had already lost all face. The only thing he could think of was to save his own life. How could he consider anything else? At this moment, all the cultivators of East Flow City were horrified. Although they couldn't enter the Alliance to watch, the Shao clan patriarch's cries for help left all the cultivators dumbfounded. Was this really the Shao clan patriarch? The Shao clan was the #1 family in the vast universe galaxy. What sort of character was the Shao clan patriarch? In the vast universe galaxy, besides Chen Wuliang, everyone had to bow and greet him. But now, he was actually asking for help. If it weren't for the Shao clan patriarch calling out his name and letting everyone know that the controller Chen Wuliang was messing with him, no one would believe this was real. Boss, your father is so fierce, is this real? This is too fucking cool. I really want to go take a look. Like father, like son, like son, like father. How could boss's father not be fierce? A true immortal, although the Shao clan patriarch had over 100 old fogies of the Shao clan risk their lives to cut through the Tao, only 12 of them succeeded. He himself is still at the Hongmeng boundary, but I didn't think he would be such a soft egg. What a fucking disgrace. Boss, perhaps your arranged battle with Xiao Yan won't be held, that's right. It would be great if that were the case. After all, that fellow has cultivated for so many years and is also at the perfection boundary. This is unfair, it would be best if they didn't fight. It's not as simple as you think, this battle cannot be avoided. Chen Hao shook his head. Although he was shocked by his father's strength and was curious as to what had happened that the dignified Shao clan patriarch would make such a disgraceful sound, from yesterday's conversation with Han Mei's master and mother, Chen Hao already knew that his battle with Xiao Yan was unavoidable. How is this possible? Unlike Chen Hao's excitement, Xiao Yan was waiting for news in a grand hotel in East Flow City. As soon as he heard this sound, his complexion changed. Boss, this voice. One of his lackeys had just opened his mouth when he shut his mouth. He wanted to ask if it was true, but seeing Xiao Yan's expression, he didn't need to ask. If he asked again, wouldn't that be asking for trouble? The other lackeys also frowned slightly. Evil creature, a father is respected by his son. I allowed you to ascend to the position of Shao clan patriarch. I didn't ask for merit, but for no mistakes. That's enough. But you evil creature, the Shao clan's face has been completely lost by you. Suddenly, an aged voice cut through the sky. At this moment, everyone in East Flow City had already ascended to a high place and were looking up at the sky. Endless celestial light flickered and terrifying Tao laws filled the air. The energy of heaven and earth surged, and an old man seemed to be stepping on the pulse of heaven and earth as he slowly descended from the 9 heavens. His pressure swept through the world and fixed everyone's gaze. Shao clan patriarch, the Shao clan patriarch who hasn't died in 1 trillion years. Heavens! Patriarch! As countless people were shocked, Xiao Yan and the other Xiao clan members, no matter where they were, as long as they saw the figure of the Xiao clan patriarch, they would bow to the ground, their expressions inexplicably excited. This was the Xiao clan's true background, their strongest background, the foundation that allowed the Xiao clan to stand tall for 1,000,000,000 years. The Xiao clan patriarch. Old brother Xiao, you really came. You wouldn't have any objections to my methods, right? At this time, Chen Wuliang's voice sounded out. At the same time, Chen Wuliang stepped out of the Alliance Palace, one hand holding the space-time gate and the other holding the Xiao clan patriarch. That old bastard came, so how could I not come? Old brother Chen, how about you let me punish him for his mistakes? Haha. Old brother Xiao, our agreement still counts, right? Of course it counts. If that's the case, then I think it's better for me, the controller, to deal with him. With old brother Xiao here, I don't have the qualifications to meddle in your Xiao clan's affairs. But, since he deceived the high-level figures of Vast Universe Galaxy and provoked the Order of Vast Universe Galaxy, it's better for me to deal with him. Old brother Xiao, what do you say? Chen Wuliang had a harmless smile on his face, as if he were asking for the Xiao clan patriarch's opinion. But, as he looked straight into the eyes of the Xiao clan patriarch, it was clear that this wasn't the case. The Xiao clan patriarch frowned. As he stared at Chen Wuliang, the pressure on his body began to rise at a terrifying speed. But Chen Wuliang didn't avoid it at all. Although his appearance was calm, his pressure also began to rise. At this moment, the void became so heavy that it was suffocating. The tumbling Tao laws and the surging heaven and earth energy were even more horrifying. All of the cultivators of East Flow City were shocked by this hostile atmosphere. They all held their breaths, not daring to breathe. Or perhaps it was better to say that they couldn't breathe. Everyone was sure that if either of these two were to attack, all of East Flow City would be instantly turned to ash. Good. Old brother Chen, the cutting Tao is indeed different. Since you want to deal with me, it's up to you. I'm looking forward to the life and death battle between the two juniors. See you in 2 days. Chi. After staring at each other for a full minute, the Xiao clan patriarch suddenly retracted his pressure. The words life and death were especially heavy. As soon as he finished speaking, a long rainbow cut through the void, traversing hundreds of thousands of miles. In an instant, a young figure was pulled to his side. It was Xiao Yan. Greetings, patriarch. Xiao Yan respectfully knelt in the void. The Xiao clan patriarch directly grabbed his hand and looked down. Yi Lan, if you dare to interfere in this matter, don't blame me for fighting to the death. Xiao clan disciples, listen up. From today onwards, Xiao Yan will be the acting patriarch. When he steps into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, he will be the official patriarch. Yes. The 11 Xiao clan true immortals and upper echelons in the alliance responded in unison. Even the true immortal who had been imprisoned by Chen Wuliang like a dead dog was no exception. As for the Xiao clan patriarch, his face was deathly pale, he had never thought that the patriarch would give up on him. Chen Wuliang also did not expect this outcome. When he had negotiated with the Xiao clan patriarch, although he had said it casually, with Chen Wuliang's understanding of Chen Hao, he knew that Chen Hao was no match for Xiao Yan at the moment. However, although the Xiao clan patriarch seemed to be easy to talk to, he did not relent on the life and death battle between Xiao Yan and Chen Hao. Chen Wuliang had no use for Yi Lan. Now, Chen Wuliang had suppressed the Xiao clan and secretly asked Yi Lan to close the second world and pretend to leave the mountain, hoping that the Xiao clan patriarch would give in and cancel the life and death battle between Chen Hao and Xiao Yan. However, he did not expect that the old man would give up on the Xiao clan patriarch. This caught Chen Wuliang off guard. It was as if he had shot himself in the foot. Instead, the life and death battle between Chen Hao and Xiao Yan was unavoidable, and it would definitely be more intense. However, what Chen Wuliang did not know was that Yi Lan had indeed closed the second world as he had asked, but he did not pretend to leave the mountain, as he had said. Instead, he really did not hesitate to sacrifice thousands or even tens of thousands of years of cultivation to reappear in the world. This was because Qin Hao's position in Yilan's heart was far more important than Qin Wuliang thought. Chapter 895. Qin Wuliang snorted. The smile on his face disappeared and was replaced by a cold arrogance. 10,000 years. Whether you can survive or not depends on your luck. Get in. Qi. Qin Wuliang threw the despairing Shao family head into the space-time gate as if he was throwing trash. You will be sealed for 10,000 years as a small punishment. Qi. The Shao family true immortal who offended Qin Wuliang was sucked into his glabella. From today onwards, all direct descendants of the Shao family will be removed from the Alliance and the Divine Temple. They will not be allowed to join for 10,000 years. They will not be allowed to hold any important positions for 100,000 years. The young disciples of the Shao family will not be allowed to use any cultivation facilities in the Divine Temple or the Alliance for 1,000,000 years. Anyone who disagrees can come and fight for the position of controller with me. They are responsible for their own lives. Hiss. Qin Wuliang's cold words made the upper echelons gasp. The Shao family members were filled with righteous indignation. After a short silence, one of the remaining 11 true immortals of the Shao family said angrily, Qin Wuliang, don't cross the line. Oh. Looks like you are dissatisfied and want to fight for the position of controller with me. Fine, I'll grant you your wish. What, you don't dare. Why don't the 11 of you join forces? I'll be alone. As long as you win, the position of controller will belong to the Shao family. If you lose, you can accompany your idiot family head. Qin Wuliang narrowed his eyes and said provocatively. The Shao family patriarch was determined to have Shao Yan and Qin Hao fight to the death. This completely enraged Qin Wuliang. If not for the fact that he was afraid that the Shao family patriarch would destroy the entire vast universe galaxy regardless of the cost, he would have attacked even if he was no match for the Shao family patriarch. Now, he could only vent his anger on the Shao family members. Since they had shed all pretense of cordiality, there was nothing more to say. The Shao family had stood strong for hundreds of millions of years and occupied half of the resources in the vast universe galaxy. Many direct descendants of the Shao family held high positions in the Divine Temple and the Alliance. Since you want to destroy my son, I will destroy your foundation. Although Qin Wuliang had said that 10,000 years or 100,000 years was nothing to the mighty figures of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm and could not shake the Shao clan's unfathomable foundation, Qin Wuliang believed that in another 10,000 years, he would no longer be afraid of the Shao clan's patriarch. When that time came, who would dare to stop him when he gave the order? He, who had successfully severed his Tao, was definitely not as simple as that. This was because his son, Qin Hao, had given him a new understanding of the mysterious primary outline of the Great Tao. Arrogant. Qin Wuliang. Will you keep your word? I am the dignified master of the vast universe galaxy. Why would I lie to you? Good, the heroes of the world can bear witness. Let's see how strong you are to dare to challenge all 11 of us. Idiot. Get the hell out of here. At this moment, the furious voice of the Shao clan's patriarch drifted over from afar. Almost at the same time, a huge hand that blotted out the sky suddenly sucked the 11 perfected immortals into its palm. At the same time, the void was torn apart, and a space-time gate suddenly appeared. You coward. Qin Wuliang looked at the 11 figures that were thrown into the space-time gate by the Shao clan's patriarch and said disdainfully. On the surface, he said 11 people, but in reality, everyone present could tell who he was talking about. Of course, he was talking about the person who stopped him. It's just a dispute of personal feelings. 10,000 years, 100,000 years, what's the big deal? It won't take that long at all. Brother Shao, my condolences. Don't cry in 2 days. Get the hell out of here, you old bastard. I respect you for being a great person in the past and respectfully call you brother. What kind of bullshit is it to make things difficult for a junior? There can't be two tigers on one mountain. Old man Yi is a precedent. The weeds that should be dealt with as soon as possible. There is only one path to the future master. That is my Shao clan's disciple, Shao Yan. Ha ha ha. You colluded with Yi and pretended to leave the mountain. Wasn't it to force old man to give up? Unfortunately, you don't understand Yi Qin at all. How could he possibly delay his cultivation for 1,000 years or 10,000 years because of a junior? Especially at this critical moment. A peak late heavenly immortal who has been at the peak of the late heavenly immortal realm for 1,000 years is bullying someone who has just reached the peak of the late heavenly immortal realm. Moreover, this is because of the primal mystic realm's space and time laws. I think you've lived for so long, but you've lived like a dog. You can't say that. This is your son's 10-year duel with Happy Valley. Yen is only an invitee. You aren't much younger than me. Is there something wrong with your head? Or was it kicked by a donkey? Can't you understand this principle? Ha ha ha. Don't be so smug. It's not certain who will die yet. My son is an indomitable spirit who excels at creating miracles. This time will be no exception. I want to see just who will have the last laugh. Let's wait and see. One was a master and the other was an old bastard. Both were peak existences in vast universe galaxy. But as the two of them spoke, all of the cultivators in East Flow City were left staring at each other. In particular, some young cultivators were left dumbfounded. They couldn't help but sigh. Even a master who had achieved the Tao was still a human. Scram. Chen Wuliang swept his eyes over the massive palace hall and coldly shouted out. The high-level figures of the Alliance and the Shao family left the palace hall one by one. Under the watchful eyes of everyone present, they were all covered in dirt. The vacated seats and their resources will all be rearranged 1 month from now. Is there a problem? No problem. Master, you have the final say. That's good. If there are no problems, then the meeting is adjourned. Winter Plum, Snow Plum, let's go. Chi. The three of them instantly vanished from the palace hall. The high-level meeting that had shaken vast universe galaxy had come quickly and left even faster. No one thought that it would have such an ending. Because of Chen Wuliang's strength and also because of his terrifying strength, even the Shao family's old ancestor wasn't able to stir up any waves. Of course, all of the peak masters present were well aware that this was also the reason that Chen Wuliang had the support of the fourth-generation master of vast universe galaxy, Yilan. The Shao family's patriarch was almost destined to die in the ancient chaos void domain. A true immortal of the Shao family was sealed in Chen Wuliang's great world. All of the Shao family's direct descendants in the Alliance and the Divine Temple were dismissed and expelled. The Shao family's direct descendants lost the right to use all of the cultivation facilities in vast universe galaxy. If such a blow had happened to any other family, it was almost destined to decline or even be destroyed. However, the Shao family's foundation was unfathomable. No one dared to take advantage of the situation. Not to mention 100,000 years, even if it was 1,000,000 years, they could still be self-sufficient and develop. As the Shao family's old ancestor had said, 10,000 years or 100,000 years were nothing. At the same time, the Shao family's old ancestor's words made everyone have a further understanding of the importance of Shao Yan and Qin Hao. What was the concept of a future master? That was the #1 expert of the current generation. It was obvious that the Shao family's old ancestor valued Shao Yan's potential. Similarly, the Shao family's old ancestor would rather die than let Shao Yan and Qin Hao fight to the death. This was enough to show how big of a threat Qin Hao was to Shao Yan. Tianxi. Just when Qin Hao and the others were still shocked by what had just happened, a voice that was filled with dignity and excitement that was not concealed in the slightest suddenly appeared in Qin Hao's ears. In a flash, Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, and Xue Mei appeared in front of everyone. Chen Hao looked at the imposing figure in front of him and didn't speak. It wasn't that he didn't want to speak, but that he didn't know how to. In his heart, the most direct impression his father gave him was that of a crippled mortal. Although he had long known that his father wasn't simple, when he truly knew that his father was the master of the vast universe galaxy, it still felt unreal. But now, he was standing in front of him. His appearance and figure were just a shadow of the past. Father knows that you must feel uncomfortable. You, little Shui, little Yan, little Nan, and are indeed the children of Father's last 100 reincarnations. You are also the key to breaking the taboo and transcending reincarnation. Of course, you are not Father's biological child, but you must believe that Father's last reincarnation was not a simple reincarnation. Father will always be your father. Even if the sky falls, Father will hold it up with you. In this vast universe galaxy, no one can do anything to you. Don't worry. If anything happens to you in the final battle in 2 days, Father will stop it at all costs. If Father doesn't have the ability to stop it, then I will bury the entire Shao family with you. Even the Shao family's ancestor won't be able to stop it. Chen Hao looked at his father's eyes that contained deep emotions, and his heart warmed. He calmed down and said, Father, you are the master of the vast universe galaxy. The big picture is more important. Moreover, I never thought that I would lose to Xiao Yan. Well said. What surprised Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, and Shui Mei, the 3 true immortals, and everyone else was that an old and weak voice suddenly appeared in everyone's ears. There was no sign, and even the 3 true immortals did not sense the slightest aura. However, a stooped old man with turbid eyes, who looked as if he would die at any time, quietly stood not far away from them, as if he had been standing there for hundreds of millions of years. Han Mei and Shui Mei were shocked beyond words, and the aura around them soared crazily. They couldn't help it. The old man who could appear beside them without making a sound was definitely at the true immortal realm, and his strength was several times stronger than theirs. Don't panic. After a short moment of surprise, Chen Wuliang said to Han Mei and Shui Mei. Then, he smiled and looked at the old man. Brother Yi, you really came out. Boy, you've been reincarnated 100 times, but you still do things carelessly. Brother, it's easy to change mountains and rivers, but it's hard to change one's character. What can I do? Well, now is not the time to catch up with you. Leave your son to me for 2 days. Ha! That's great. Brother, my son's talent is unprecedented. Oh, right, it's very similar to Sister Yi Xian's body. Sister Yi Xian. You boy. If little Xian didn't have an accident, she would be your senior. Forget it, we cultivators talk with strength. Let me tell you clearly, your son's body is not similar to my daughter's. It's completely the same. Chapter 896. Yi Lan's cloudy eyes stared at Chen Hao, who was in a daze. He ignored Chen Wuliang's surprise and suddenly looked at Long Ting, who was curiously sizing him up. He said, You must be Xiao Ting from the Long family on the Asianing planet? You look exactly like Xian, You and Hao, come with me. Xiao Ting, how? Since when were we so familiar with each other? Both Chen Hao and Long Ting were puzzled. Although Chen Hao had not formally introduced this unbelievably old man, from the fact that the 3 perfected immortals could not sense his cultivation level and the way Chen Wuliang addressed him, Chen Hao and Long Ting guessed that this old man must be Yi Lan, who was in cahoots with Chen Wuliang. He was the 4th generation controller of the vast universe galaxy and also the strongest controller. He was also the true master of the second world. After Yi Lan finished speaking, his stooped figure took the lead and walked toward the cultivation room in the palace where Chen Hao was. Long Ting looked at Chen Hao in confusion. Chen Hao shook his head and looked at Chen Wuliang in confusion. Go ahead. Brother Yi is the 4th generation controller of the vast universe galaxy and the only one who can keep the Shao family's ancestor in check. But I really don't understand what's going on with Xiaoting. However, Xiaoting's image is too similar to Yi Xian's. Perhaps it has something to do with Yi Xian. You can ask Brother Yi. Chen Wuyang waved his hand. Chen Hao and Long Ting could only follow him in. When Chen Hao first entered the second world, he thought of a possibility. The second world was very similar to the simulated game space on Earth. At that time, he had learned from Heavenly Lord Yuanru that the second world was formed by Yilan's supreme ability before his death. Everyone thought that Yilan had become the second world and could not be alive. However, Chen Hao did not think so. The order of the entire world definitely required a super-powerful, intelligence brain, to operate. At that time, he felt that the cultivators who entered the second world would not be able to keep secrets from this, intelligence brain. However, he did not care and could not care less. Now, his thoughts were confirmed. Yilan definitely knew all of his secrets, or it could be said that he had searched through all of his memories. It was the same for Long Ting. At the same time, Chen Hao was also able to confirm that the 10,000-year-old ancient corpse that had created his existence was the greatest genius of the vast universe galaxy since ancient times, but also the most regretful girl, Yi Xian. Yi Lan's daughter. Long Ting and Yi Lan looked exactly the same. What was the relationship between them? Chen Hao's genetic probing had traced the evolution of the origin, but he had not found any clues. At that time, Chen Hao had only thought that it was some kind of coincidence that he had met someone who looked exactly the same. But now, Yilan asked Long Ting to go with him, which made Chen Hao understand that it wasn't as simple as he thought. With all kinds of doubts, Chen Hao and Long Ting stepped into the cultivation room. Xiao Shui, my good daughter. When Chen Hao entered the cultivation room, Chen Wuyang walked up to Chen Shui with a smile on his face. As he spoke, he reached out to touch Chen Shui's head. But Chen Shui took 2 steps back and dodged. Chen Shui frowned and glared at Chen Wuyang. Ha ha ha. Chen Wuyang smiled and touched his own head. He said naturally without the slightest awkwardness, I know you still have a prejudice against me. I'll take good care of you in the future. Then, he suddenly looked at Bailey Ning Bing. Little Bing too, ah. Bailey Ning Bing was shocked. What did he mean? When Chen Wuyang looked at Hu Mainyang again, Venerable Immortal Han Mei suddenly said, that's enough. As a controller, aren't you ashamed? So many of Hao Er's Dao companions and friends are here. You only recognize your daughter. Cough cough. My wife is right. Junior Du Jing greets uncle and auntie. Du Jing was the first to salute excitedly. Junior Pan Long greets, Junior Lan Feng, daughter Chen Ling, that's enough. Chen Wuyang suddenly released a gentle energy and stopped everyone from saluting. He said, I'm very familiar with all of you here, ha ha ha. Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, Ling, Li Yang, and Xiao Wu, Xiao Yan, Yu Yu, Huan Huan, Lei Lei. My good daughters-in-law, haha. Little Bing, Main Yang, ha ha ha, father. Father. At this moment, dozens of figures quickly ran over. The 2 in front were Chen Nan and Chen Yen. Chen Nan and Chen Yen didn't have much of a barrier between them and their father. When they stepped into the Shao family of the secular world, their father began to guide them in cultivation. He even taught them a set of unparalleled combination techniques and told them to follow their big brother Chen Hao in the future. Although they didn't expect their father to be the controller of the vast universe galaxy, it was much easier for them to accept it than Chen Hao and Chen Shui. Greetings, controller. Along with Chen Nan, Chen Yan, Xiao Mei, Huyan Aobua, Gu Chen, Guan Nanchao, Lu Qingyang, and the Fan family's upper echelons were also present. These people were all excited and bowed with cupped fists. No need for formalities. We're all on the same side, no need for formalities. Chen Wuyang waved his hand and said, Grandfather. Bailey Ning Bing saw her grandfather, Guan Nanchao, appear and immediately ran over. Guan Nanchao was full of joy. Although the current situation was still uncertain, it was enough to prove how wise his decision to protect Qinhao was. Especially after seeing Bailey Ningbing with Qinhao's people, he was even more relieved. More importantly, he vaguely guessed who Bailey Ningbing's real father was: Controller, the Manhuang tribe's patriarch, Poison King Valley's master, Lan family's master, Misty Rain Tower's master, and others. Request an audience. The Fan family's patriarch said respectfully. Good. As long as you come, please come in. Come to the main hall of the Fan family's main hall. Qinhao and Long Ting naturally didn't see the bustling scene outside and didn't know what their father said to Bailey Ningbing. Of course, they didn't know about Hu Mainyang, who hadn't been mentioned yet. Han Mei True Immortal stopped Chen Wuliang not because he had a problem with Hu Mainyang, but because Hu Mainyang's background wasn't something that could be explained in a few words. There were still many secrets that even Chen Wuliang didn't understand. It could be said that Hu Mainyang herself didn't even know that she had parents. Sit. Yilan sat cross-legged in the cultivation room. Although his body was still hunched, his cloudy eyes were now clear and bright. He looked at Qinhao and Long Ting with bright eyes, becoming more and more benevolent. Unfortunately, Qinhao and Long Ting felt like they were being seen through under his gaze, as if they could no longer keep any secrets. Chapter 897. It's been billions of years. When little Xian disappeared from this world, she was about the same age as you. Little Ting's appearance is almost the same as little Xian's, and the aura of your bloodline inheritance is exactly the same as little Xian's. Yi Lan's eyes became cloudy again. He raised his head and looked at the ceiling of the training room as if he was looking at the endless galaxy. His old face was filled with loneliness and loneliness. Qinhao and Long Ting could feel Yi Lan's longing for his daughter. However, Qinhao was still fine. After all, he knew how he was born. Strictly speaking, he was a product of science, a fusion and clone of two genes, and not the most primitive reproduction of humans. However, Long Ting, the thick-skinned girl, was extremely nervous and worried at this moment. If she was related to Qinhao by blood and Qinhao became her direct relative, wouldn't that be terrible? Although the two of them didn't take the final step, Long Ting's heart had long belonged to Qinhao. No matter what, she couldn't accept such a fact. Long Ting was so nervous that her delicate body trembled slightly. Fortunately, Qinhao held her small hand tightly, comforting her slightly as she waited quietly. Little Xian has always been my pride. Innate at 10, human immortal at 15, earth immortal at 21, heaven immortal at 28, and Daluo at 69. Not to mention our chaotic universe, even in the greater worlds that are more powerful than ours, she can be called a top genius. Yi Lan recalled and said slowly with a hint of pride in his calm voice. Although Qinhao and Long Ting already knew that Yi Xian was known as the first genius girl in the vast universe galaxy, and might also be unmatched in the future, they were still shocked when they heard Yi Xian's experience. Qinhao could be said to be heaven-defying, but compared to Yi Xian, there was still a huge gap. What kind of concept was a 69-year-old Daluo Jingxian? Of course, Qinhao also knew that the environment and cultivation resources he grew up in couldn't be compared to Yi Xian's. Her opportunities and luck are incomparable. Unfortunately. Yi Lan shook his head and sighed. If she hadn't disappeared, she would be the strongest person in the vast universe galaxy, or perhaps the strongest person in the ancient chaos universe, boundless 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 universe. Boundless universe, 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 boundless universe. Boundless universe, 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 boundless. Yi Lan's eyes became bright as he stared at Chen. Senior, are you sure we're related to Senior Yi Xian? Chen Hao asked. Although he had already determined that he was related to Yi Lan, and the 10,000-year-old ancient corpse on Earth should be Yi Lan, Chen Hao still had doubts in his heart. Hundreds of millions of years was too long. Not to mention Yi Xian had lost consciousness, even in a perfect state. Daluo Jingxian didn't have such a long lifespan. Otherwise, Yi Lan, who was a true immortal, wouldn't look so old. True immortality was easier said than done. At the same time, the information involved in Yi Lan's words made Chen Hao hear information about a higher level of the cultivation world for the first time. The chaotic universe galaxy should be the name of the universe he was in at this moment. In this deep, vast, and mysterious galaxy, there were even more worlds that were stronger than the chaotic universe. What kind of existence was Earth? Cultivators were boundless, and the peak was ethereal. Chen Hao knew that the path he had to walk was still very, very far away. When you stepped into the second world, I knew. The second world is me, and I am the second world. When your mind and aura are connected to the second world, there are no secrets to me. However, you're a little special. There are some things I can't read, such as the specific content of the 3,000 great Daos, and the true immortal treasure in your mind. True immortal treasure? Chen Hao said in surprise. Ha! It's just that you don't know. You can ask the old god. Yi Lan said with a smile. The memories in Chen Hao's mind were no secret to him. He naturally knew about the old god's existence. He should be the guardian of the true immortal treasure. You were able to come from Earth to the chaotic universe galaxy not because of Little Jade, but because of this true immortal treasure. Even if Little Jade was awake, it would be difficult for her to come back, let alone send you here. That's an existence that surpasses the doors of time and space. Connecting the 3,000 worlds is a true journey of time and space. The past, present, future, past life, present life, future life, and even the reincarnation of 100 lives. It can all be done in an instant with a thought. It's definitely a true top-grade immortal treasure. Otherwise, with the nourishment chamber on Earth, how could you travel through time and space? How could you have the ability to refine weapons that surpass your own realm by several levels? How could you have a big world in your mind now? This. Chen Hao was shocked. Old God. Cough cough. Master, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but I can't tell you, and I can't tell you because even I don't know. Only with the improvement of your realm can I continue to obtain more information. I think this seal is also to protect you, Master. You see, if you knew in advance, such an expert would unknowingly check your memories. Wouldn't that be very dangerous? What he said might be true. But right now, I really don't know, Master. You have to believe me, I really don't have any reservations about you now. Old God, who returned with Chen Nan, Chen Yan, and the others, said in Chen Hao's mind. His words were sincere and even more pitiful. Come out and tell me, Chen Hao said as a ray of light shot out from between his eyebrows. Old God suddenly appeared in the cultivation room. Then you at least know what's going on with Yi Xian, right? She should be your previous master, right? Master, this is really not. Yi Xian only obtained my previous master's inheritance by chance. But she can't make me recognize her as my master. However, she can come to Earth and fall into a deep sleep. I know what's going on, what's going on? Chen Hao and Yi Lan asked at the same time. Yi Lan's old face was even more excited than Chen Hao's. After hundreds of millions of years, it was finally the first time he had received accurate information about his daughter. Anyone would be inexplicably excited. This, old God, I don't want you to hide anything. Alright, I'll tell you. I hope old you won't blame me. After hundreds of millions of years, I'm already very happy to receive information about little Xian. I won't blame you. Yilan frowned slightly and said as he shook his head. Chapter 898. Although the old god didn't say anything, Yilan was certain that his daughter's disappearance was caused by the old god or the true immortal treasure that the old god was guarding. Otherwise, the old god wouldn't have told him not to blame him in advance. It's like this. The first condition of my previous masters is that the origin imprint must be on Earth. In fact, Earth isn't as simple as it seems, even though it's already in the age of chaos. I can't tell you the specifics for now. Cough cough, it's not that I can't, it's that I don't know and can't say. Every master, if determined to be unable to meet the requirements of my treasure, would collapse and die, and I would also collapse until only a wisp of consciousness was left, waiting for an opportunity to seek the next master. Every time this happened, the treasure I was guarding would sense Earth's call. After devouring endless energy, it would cross the endless starry sky and return to Earth. When it devoured energy, including the energy contained in the surrounding powerful life forms. Under normal circumstances, it would bring countless life forms to Earth. However, none of them survived. All energy was devoured, and Earth was in the age of chaos, so there was no energy of heaven and Earth. These life forms could only face death. When the last master collapsed, Yi Xian, who was training in the chaotic space, happened to be swallowed as a body of energy. But Yi Xian's body was truly immortal and indestructible, possessing endless potential for evolution. Although all her energy was swallowed, she didn't collapse. Instead, she was integrated into the magic treasure, evolving into a state where she coexisted with the magic treasure. The old god paused for a moment before continuing. After arriving on Earth, if the spiritual energy on Earth was abundant, Yi Xian would have been able to wake up soon and recover her strength. However, there was no energy left on Earth for cultivators to absorb, and she couldn't obtain the recognition of my treasure. Therefore, she couldn't receive the treasure's reciprocal nourishment, so, she fell into a deep sleep until you appeared. Master, I see. Yilan's wrinkled old face twitched slightly due to excitement. Then when I came to this world, what was the terrifying explosion? I clearly saw. That kind of explosion was nothing to Yi Xian's physical body. Master, you can easily do it too. However, now that the treasure and I have followed you here, I don't know what will happen to Yi Xian without the treasure coexisting. The old god said. Old god, how different is the space-time law on Earth from here? Yilan suddenly asked. One day on Earth, 10,000 years of chaos. In the endless Milky Way, I've followed the masters of the past. No matter which universe I'm in, I've never met one that's less than 10,000 times. Hiss. More than 10,000 times, his calm words made Yilan, Qinhao, and Long Ting suck in a breath of cold air. Even though Qinhao had long believed that the Earth was definitely not as simple as it seemed because of the secrets of the Taoist canon, he was still extremely shocked at this moment. What kind of powerful universal law was required to maintain the space-time law that was 10,000 times stronger than the vast thousand worlds of ancient chaos? He's so strong. Did the ancient almighties on Earth really disappear? Where did they all go? Is the Earth that I know the real Earth? Qinhao took a deep breath and asked. Qinhao had always thought that he had no attachment to Earth. In his previous life, he had no relatives, no friends, and there was not even a warmth that was worth remembering. His life and obsession were all for the pursuit of immortality. What was there on Earth, where the spiritual chi of heaven and earth had dried up, that was worth his sentimental attachment? However, every time he received news about Earth, he couldn't help himself. After all, that was the place where he was born and where his origin mark was located, and now, it made Qinhao have a strong desire to explore. What kind of existence were the ancient almighties and the mythological era that disappeared? The 9 prefectures that were recorded in myths and legends were not something that could be discovered by the thousands of years of Earth's civilization and the Earth that Qinhao knew. When he thought of the mysterious Earth that he couldn't find the slightest clue in his pursuit of immortality, Qinhao's desire to explore the unknown completely erupted. More importantly, Qinhao strongly felt that Earth would inevitably be the biggest key to his journey to the peak of cultivation. Master. I can't tell you the specifics. I can only tell you that what you see is only a very small corner of Earth. Your so-called science detects the whole picture of Earth. It's half true and half false. A world in a grain of sand, a Bodhi in a leaf. With Master's current vision, I believe that Master can find clues without me saying more. Old God said. Old God, can you take us to Earth? Yilan suddenly asked. I can't. You can see that I'm only the guardian of the artifact. My ability is limited. Only if Master's ability continues to improve and can always meet the requirements of the artifact's restriction will there be hope to return to Earth. Otherwise, returning to Earth means Master's collapse. Sigh. I thought there was hope. It seems that even if I succeed in Nirvana and have millions of years of life, I may not be able to wait until the day little Xian returns. Old God's words made Yilan, the strongest person in the vast universe galaxy, feel bitter. He'd originally thought that he would be able to rescue Yi Xian with Qinhao's clues and understanding that he was unable to read some of the memories in Qinhao's mind. But now it would seem like it was utterly impossible. When he spoke up to hear, Yilan gazed at Qinhao and Long Ting, and then he said, How, even though you weren't born of reproduction, little Xian's bloodline flows within you. Old man and little Xian are also your relatives, right? Senior. I know what you mean. One day, I will return to Earth. No matter the price, as long as I can do it, I will definitely bring Senior Yi Xian to you. Qinhao said with great certainty. Good. Thank you. I hope I can still wait for that day. Senior. What about me? I'm exactly the same as Senior Yilan. What's going on? At this time, although Long Ting was surprised, she still asked the question that worried her the most. You are indeed closely related to little Xian. However, you don't have to worry. You are not little Xian's descendant. Until she disappeared, she didn't have a cultivation partner. In the world, at least in the chaotic universe, there is no one who can catch her eye. Your Long family's ancestor was not originally human. This point, how, and you already know. Magical technology. Yilan couldn't help but sigh. He knew most of Qinhao's memories and all of Long Ting's memories. Therefore, he was clear about Qinhao's deduction of Long Ting's genetic origin technology. Chapter 899. Yilan continued, she was Long Qian, the daughter of the ancient true dragon king of the ancient chaos universe. Little Jade saved her life when she was in danger. Out of gratitude, and also because of Little Jade's talent and potential, Long Qian took the initiative to sign a lifelong master-servant contract with Little Jade. After Little Jade disappeared, Long Qian searched for her for countless years but eventually gave up. She missed Little Jade so much that she activated the ancient True Dragon clan's ultimate transformation secret technique. After the ultimate transformation, she became a true human and her human form became her normal form. At that time, she chose Little Jade's appearance. In the last life of 100 reincarnations, she formed the Long family with a human genius and took root in the vast universe galaxy. However, after the reincarnation cycle ended, Long Qian, whose talent and potential were not much worse than Little Jade's, truly gained human emotions and advanced by leaps and bounds. She successfully reached the Tao severing stage and stepped into the ranks of true immortals. After that, she left the ancient chaos universe again to search for Little Jade. The Long family, in your generation, has been blessed by fate. You have awakened the bloodline of the true Dragon King since you were born, and your appearance is exactly the same as Long Shi's true body. Yilan's words caused Long Ting and Qinhao to both breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were also very shocked, especially Long Ting. She had never imagined that such a secret existed in her family. Even in the family's records, there was not a single word about it. All this time, the Long family's decline had been attributed to the departure of their ancestor, causing them to lose their karmic luck, or to some sort of curse. When Long Qian left ancient chaos to search for little Jade, she had once asked me to look after the Long family. Unfortunately, it had been too long, billions of years. In addition, I had been severely injured in the battle with the ambitious Xiao family old ancestor. I could only choose to use my true self to undergo nirvana and transform into the second world to absorb the power of faith from the world's cultivators. However, the severely injured Xiao family old ancestor used the Xiao family's strong foundation and power to prevent the spread of the second world. I could only rely on a few reliable subordinates to absorb the meager power of faith to maintain my true self. I struggled at death's door until Brother Chen Wuliang rose up. Only then would the second world truly spread throughout the vast universe galaxy. Only then would my true self nirvana be able to continue. When you were in your mother's womb, the supreme treasure that your Long family's patriarch obtained was the inheritance treasure that Long Qian left behind when she left. Ah! Long Ting was shocked. Don't be surprised. Fortune and misfortune are hard to predict, and the design of heaven is hard to predict. Losing half of it is destined to happen. Now, Hao has helped you get it back from Guanu, but you have to advance to the peak of Daluo Jingxian before you can reunite with it and truly obtain Long Qian's inheritance. Yilan seemed to see through Long Ting's doubts and said directly, at that time, you should get the ancestral teachings left by Long Qian. Alas, it is little Xian's blessing to have such a loyal sister like Long Qian. Unfortunately, I can't help you much in the Nirvana realm. I can only open some special missions for your Long family in the second world. And they must be within the scope of your and my abilities. The second world belongs to me, but I have to abide by the rules set by it. Yilan paused for a moment and continued, as for the ancestral teachings left by Long Qian, if I'm not wrong, it should be related to little Xian, and it is very likely that it contains the aura of the master-servant contract between her and little Xian. So, when Hao has the ability to return to Earth, it would be best if you could come with him, little Ting. The senses of the master-servant contract are much stronger and more accurate than one's own senses. It doesn't rely on aura. Moreover, hundreds of millions of years have passed, and Long Qian's fate is unknown. At that time, with little Xian's temperament, she will inevitably look for Long Qian again. It will depend on you. Don't worry, Senior Yi, I will definitely go with Brother Hao. Long Ting said without hesitation. That's good, that's good. Alright, there is not much time left. The life and death battle between Hao and Xiao Yan seems simple, but it concerns the fate of the vast universe galaxy in the future. No matter what, you must withstand this battle. The Xiao clan's ancestor has never given up on his ambition to unify the vast universe galaxy and even the entire chaotic universe. If it weren't for me and Brother Wu Yang joining forces to deter him from acting recklessly, I'm afraid he would have succeeded long ago. The reason why your father couldn't stop this battle is also within my expectations. Because we are afraid that the Xiao clan's ancestor will fight to the death. If that happened, it would be a catastrophe for the entire vast universe galaxy. It concerns the life and death of hundreds of millions of lives. So, he insists on fighting, and he has an excuse. We can only admit that. Xiao Yan is very strong. I know, Chen Hao said calmly. But his eyes shone with sharpness and determination. In the same realm, even if he started cultivating more than 1,000 years later than Xiao Yan, with the experience in the primitive mystic realm, Chen Hao still had the confidence to fight. In his past experience, when had he not challenged those of a higher realm? Back then, he had no background, and he didn't have the support of any cultivation resources. It could be said that he had relied entirely on his own strength to walk step by step to where he was today. How many life and death situations had he experienced, and how many miracles had he created? Even he couldn't remember clearly. The arrogance in his bones made it so that he would never surrender. As long as his opponent didn't surpass him by too much, he had the confidence to win. He is definitely stronger than you think, much stronger than the rumors. He has already completely awakened the Shao clan's ancestors' 9 lives inheritance. More importantly, I suspect that Shao Yan is the Shao clan's ancestors' 10th life. What? This time, Chen Hao was finally unable to remain calm. Yi Lan's words were too shocking, and at the same time, Chen Hao didn't understand. 9 lives, 9 lives, how did it become 10 lives? Then how can we fight? Isn't this sending ourselves to death? Long Ting said in shock. I also hope that this isn't true, but all the signs and the Shao clan's ancestors' attitude make this possibility extremely high. 9, the extreme number. My true self has undergone nirvana, and the only way the Shao clan's ancestor can contend against me is to break through the limit of 9 lives. However, you don't have to worry too much. Even if Shao Yan is the Shao clan's ancestor's 10th life, he is only Shao Yan for the time being. Even if he is at the peak of the heavenly immortal realm, he can only use the power of the 10th life. His greatest advantage is that he can obtain the Shao clan's ancestors' battle experience and comprehension of the heavenly Tao. It can be said that Shao Yan can unleash the peak of his strength. Chen Hao frowned slightly. He was very clear about what Yi Lan's words meant. Simply put, it was like a peerless expert being reborn. Although his cultivation was limited to the peak of the heavenly immortal realm, he had the state of mind, comprehension, and experience of a peerless expert. He could use his strength to the extreme. This was undoubtedly an extremely terrifying thing. It was like the Shao clan's ancestor had sealed his cultivation to fight him. Chapter 900. So, in this battle, I don't seek victory, I only seek not to die. You have the same physical body as little Jade and your soul is suppressed by a true immortal treasure that surpasses my knowledge. Dying together is also very difficult. I believe that the Shao clan ancestor does not know this. Even if you know, it's useless. But once it's destroyed, it will take a very long time for you to completely recover. So what you need to do now is to raise your immortal and indestructible ability as much as possible. Little Jade's immortal and indestructible body is not something that she was born with. It was a nameless breathing technique that she obtained from a huge opportunity. Little Jade once taught me, but unfortunately, with my cultivation, I was unable to comprehend it and only understood the surface. But it allowed me to comprehend the nirvana of my true self. Perhaps you should be able to. I will teach it to you now, little Ting can also try. Yi Lan said. Nameless breathing technique. Senior Yi, there are less than 2 days left. No matter how good Brother Hao's comprehension is, what progress can there be? Long Ting said. Don't worry, why did I close the second world? The space-time laws of the second world are 10, one with vast universe galaxy. If it is specially condensed for you, it can reach 1001. It is enough for you to comprehend. This breathing technique is related to the physical body and soul origin. Even if you only comprehend the surface, it will play a key role in this life and death battle. Begin. Wang. Yi Lan's eyes suddenly lit up and 2 milky white light of memory shot out from between his eyebrows and entered between Chen Hao and Long Ting's eyebrows. Immediately, Yi Lan's 2 withered hands formed dazzling and complicated runes at an astonishing speed and entered the space around the two. The space-time laws were condensed. At this moment, Chen Hao and Long Ting suddenly seemed to fall into a world of absolute silence. Heaven and earth suddenly disappeared, as if they had entered the realm of nothingness. Their thoughts jumped abnormally, clearly sensing the terrifying changes in the space-time laws and finally freezing. Unknowable, also unknowable, even unknowable death, also unknowable death, the unknowable is not a real body. Like a person in a dream, when the dream is not unknowable, but when awakened, there is nothing gained. Like the splendor of the universe extinguishing in the void, it cannot be said that there is a place to extinguish. Why? There is no place to live. All living things are born in the absence of life, and they see life and death in vain. This is why it is called the cycle of life and death. All living beings come from no beginning, and all kinds of things are reversed. It's as if they're bewitching the four directions and changing places. They mistakenly believe that the four directions are their own forms, and the six primordial shadows are their own forms. All forms are illusory. If all forms are not forms, then the five skandhas are all empty. The five skandhas are like the ocean, all empty like the shore of the other side. Through the sea of bitterness of life and death, one reaches the shore of nirvana. The emptiness of all dharmas, neither filth nor purity, neither increase nor decrease, neither birth nor destruction, the true self is originally unsullied, so it is also not pure. It is originally lifeless, so it is also indestructible. It does not decrease in the mortal, and it does not increase in the divine. Away from all falsehood, there is neither emptiness nor existence, there is neither reality nor emptiness. This is the true self. When Chinhao began to read the Nameless Heart Sutra passed down by Yilan, what surprised Chinhao was that this Heart Sutra actually originated from the Buddhist scriptures on earth, the Sutra of Enlightenment, the Diamond Sutra, and the Heart Sutra. Chinhao had also dabbled in these before, but at that time, it was the same as the Taoist supreme arts. Chinhao could not comprehend it, and could not cultivate it like the supreme arts of the martial arts world. According to his view at that time, Buddhist scriptures were a kind of spiritual sustenance, faith, and spiritual cultivation. To put it bluntly, it was reciting scriptures to get rid of worries, to seek peace of mind, and to be healthy. To immortality, it was basically meaningless. But now, Chinhao realized that he had a mountain of treasures in his hands, but he did not know it. Just a few thousand words of scripture, but it contained the immortality, indestructibility, and even the everlasting Tao of immortality. All living beings are born without life, they see life and death in vain. The true life, the true self, is lifeless. Without life, how can there be death? To be born without being born, to be destroyed without being destroyed, to move without moving, to be formless without form, to prove the lifeless Dharma endurance. Everything in the world is relative. If there is life, then there is death. If there is coming, then there is going. If there is good, then there is evil. If there is right, then there is wrong. If there is movement, then there is stillness. This is the life and death Dharma, the reversal of Buddhism, which is also an illusion. If you are controlled by the life and death Dharma, you can only be immortal. In this life and death Dharma, if you can see the true self that is neither born nor destroyed, then you can pass the sea of suffering, reach the other shore, and achieve immortality. Chinhao understood the meaning of the scripture almost effortlessly. But to truly understand the true meaning of the great Tao that it contained, it was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Phew, Chinhao let out a long sigh. He looked at the endless void that was condensed by Yilan's divine power and sat down cross-legged. With a thought, the Tempest Temple that he remembered from the myths on earth was born around him. At the same time, a strangely shaped green lamp and a wooden fish appeared beside him. At the same time, an ancient Buddha appeared. What is this kid doing? Yilan, who was paying attention to Chinhao's condition, saw Chinhao's strange actions and was very puzzled. One should know that he had read most of Chinhao's memories. But now, Chinhao had condensed the palace and the utensils that Chinhao had condensed with his divine power. The thing that caused Yilan to frown slightly was that the ancient Buddha condensed by Chinhao was filled with an auspicious and transcendent aura, and it was like a divine statue that existed for eternity. But, the appearance of the ancient Buddha was clearly Chinhao himself. Believing in himself. What a strong confidence. This kid is only at the heaven celestial stage, but he has such a great spirit that looks down on the world. No wonder he can achieve so much at such a young age. Compared to him, I am really old. The greater one's ambition, the greater one's talent. When Chinhao comprehended his own Tao, found the direction of his efforts, and confirmed his goal, he already understood that on the path of cultivation, one would lose if one believed in others and worshipped others. The only one could believe in was himself. However, the reason why Qin Hao had condensed the great thunderclap temple, the green lamp, the wooden fish, and other utensils in his memories was not too much of a thought. It was just based on his superficial understanding of Buddhism to seek the opportunity of epiphany. Buddhism emphasized the karma of the 3 lifetimes, the 12 karmas, and epiphany. Qin Hao was very clear that the sutra that he understood was only the superficial meaning. It was definitely not that easy to understand. Dong! 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 The sound of the wooden fish rang. Qin Hao began to recite the sutra in a state of, not seeking to understand, no obsession, and no desire. 9 returned to 1. Qi. In the depths of the void, in a pure land, the Shao clan's patriarch shouted softly. Endless celestial light and Tao laws surged out. Shao Yan's 9 lives and 9 bodies immediately began to merge slowly in a strange formation. At this moment, in the endless void, the energy of heaven and earth suddenly became violent, and a terrifying tribulation cloud condensed. 9 returned to 1, the dead one, the 10 born. This was a heaven-defying existence. But the moment it formed, it was destroyed by the Shao clan's patriarch with a flick of his finger. Shao Yan, who was gradually merging, had an increasingly painful expression. His originally extremely handsome face became ferocious and extremely terrifying. Just from this appearance, one could tell that the pain that Shao Yan was enduring was extremely shocking. Chapter 901. Shao Yan, Yan, derived, the meaning of the name proved Yilan's guess. Shao Yan was the Shao clan's patriarch's 10th life. However, Shao Yan himself was not born from the Shao clan's patriarch, but a direct descendant of the Shao clan. But since he was in his mother's womb, when his soul was still in a chaotic state and his consciousness had yet to be born, he was parasitized by the Shao clan's patriarch's primordial spirit. 9, the extreme number. How could it be easy to break through? Even the Shao clan's patriarch, who had lived for hundreds of millions of years, could not do it. He could only find a shortcut and use the evil path to achieve it. The complex memories, which contained the Shao clan's patriarch's hundreds of millions of years of comprehension of the heavenly Tao, and battle experience, surged like thousands of streams flowing into the sea, constantly fusing into Shao Yan's mind. No. Patriarch, at this point, Shao Yan's soul already knew what was going to happen. He had never thought that he would be the patriarch's puppet. Feeling the endless pain of his soul being devoured, fear, unwillingness, anger, all kinds of negative emotions crazily spread in Shao Yan's heart. He howled at the top of his lungs, but he could not stop it at all. Yan, don't blame me. Before you were born, your fate was already decided. It's just that I didn't expect it to come so early. I originally planned to wait until you stepped into the great circle of the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland before starting. Unfortunately, Qin Hao succeeded in Dao severing, and that old fart named Yi is about to succeed in Nirvana. Although you have almost absolute confidence in killing Qin Hao, I can't afford to lose. The Shao clan's patriarch's old voice resounded in Shao Yan's mind. The primordial spirit parasitized Shao Yan's soul, and the speed of devouring became faster and faster. Give up resisting, your soul is destined to collapse. However, your death is worth it. Sacrifice yourself for me, for the future glory of the Shao clan, and become my 10th life. If one day I can break through to the true immortal realm, step into the creator realm, and control the most mysterious river of fate in the world, I will reverse time and space and rebuild your life imprint. Patriarch. You, shameless. 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 Shao Yan roared madly and miserably, but how could a mere heavenly immortal resist the primordial spirit imprint of the Shao clan's old ancestor in his soul palace? In less than 2 hours, Shao Yan's voice could no longer be heard. 9 nines returned to 1, the 10th fate was complete. Very good, very good. You're only at the perfection heavenly celestial stage, yet you possess such strength. You're not inferior to me when I was young. What a pity. After the Shao clan's patriarch completely occupied Shao Yan, he sensed the power in Shao Yan's body and said excitedly. Although it was a little regretful, it was only a little. 2 days later, I'd like to see who can stop it. Ha ha ha. The old ancestor of the Shao clan said with a laugh. Although the 10th anima still required a lot of time to grow, it was still a success. Based on his understanding of the magical laws of the Tao of Heaven, as well as his battle experience, he would definitely be able to increase Shao Yan's battle prowess several-fold, even if he was only in his 10th anima. Furthermore, he would definitely be more powerful than Shao Yan's 9th anima. The Shao clan's patriarch could see that Qin Hao was far more important to Qin Wuliang than he had imagined. It was hard to guarantee that Qin Wuliang wouldn't do something crazy. Furthermore, through the information he'd gathered about Qin Hao, he discovered that Qin Hao was definitely a heaven-defying life form comparable to Yi Xian. If such a person truly matured before he'd reached the 10th anima, and before he'd fully recovered from the injuries he'd suffered from that old bastard Yilan, he'd be too terrifying. At that time, if Yilan, Qin Hao, and Qin Wuliang joined forces, he wouldn't be able to contend against them at all. Back then, I used some methods to prevent Yi Xian from discovering any clues and took Yi Xian away. Although she disappeared for hundreds of millions of years, it's still unknown whether she's dead or alive. It's already like a thorn in my flesh, and now there's a Qin Hao who's comparable to Yi Xian. Moreover, this Qin Hao's physique is almost the same as Yi Xian's. There's a high possibility that there's some connection between them. How can I make the same mistake again? The Shao clan's patriarch's eyes flickered as he thought to himself. No one knew, not even Yilan, that Yi Xian's disappearance back then wasn't entirely a coincidence, that she was swallowed by the terrifying black hole space. Back then, Yi Xian was merely Daluo Jingxian. Although her talent was heaven-defying and her battle strength was terrifying to the extreme, she was still far from being able to travel the starry skies. The reason why they had coincidentally encountered each other was that after the Shao clan's patriarch had coincidentally sensed the terrifying devouring, he had used a little trick to lure Yi Xian out without anyone noticing. Then, he had pretended to escape with a miniature space-time gate, and Yi Xian had chased after him and sent him over. He had originally thought that Yi Xian was dead for sure, but he hadn't expected that Yi Xian had only gone missing. This had been like a fishbone stuck in his throat for many years. Only after hundreds of millions of years had passed and she still hadn't returned did he feel slightly relieved. After all, with Yi Xian's talent, if she matured, he definitely wouldn't be able to resist Yilan and Yi Xian. Now, Qin Hao had appeared. His talent was on par with Yi Xian's, and his physical body was even the same. Most importantly, he was Qin Wuliang's son and was on the same side as Yilan. How could he let him grow? This was also the real reason why the Shao clan's patriarch didn't hesitate to threaten to fight to the death with Qin Hao. Dong! 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 According to Pan Ruapramitha, the heart has no worries, no worries, no worries. Far away from the inverted dream, in the end nirvana, the sound of the wooden fish, which had the effect of calming the mind, was accompanied by Qin Hao's clear and transcendent chanting of scriptures. In the beginning, Yilan didn't feel that it had any great effect. It was just the situation that made him think otherwise. However, as time passed, every rhythmic sound of the wooden fish seemed to be knocking on his soul. At the same time, Qin Hao's chanting of scriptures also became more and more transcendent and elegant. The aura of his true body became more and more solemn and vast. A mysterious fluctuation that Yilan had never sensed in scriptures spread out from Qin Hao's body, mysterious and profound. Dong! As Qin Hao struck the wooden fish, it seemed to carry with it a faint golden light. It was as if golden ripples were spreading through the void. At the same time, Qin Hao's chanting naturally evolved into the supreme realm that appeared when chanting the primary outline of the great Tao, lotus blossoming tongue. It was only at this time that Yilan was truly shocked. His wrinkled old face was suffused with a red glow of excitement. He only pondered for a moment before his mind merged with Qin Hao's chanting of scriptures and the sound of the wooden fish. Under the laws of time and space, nearly 2,000 days passed in the blink of an eye. Buzz. How, time's up. Yilan's voice with a trace of excitement and anticipation appeared in Qinhao's mind. The chanting of scriptures and the sound of the wooden fish came to an abrupt end. Qinhao slowly opened his eyes. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.